Well, rather surprisingly, we are back again, and they've decided to finish what they started. So now on Who's Views, JT and the Whotastic panel are back to review Episode 7 of RTD's new Dr. Q. And after last week's predictably boring revelation, let's see if the Doctor is now wearing a leather mask and calling himself K9.
RTD just can't help himself and delivers a script which brings back an iconic and proper Doctor Who baddie. But is it too little, too soon? That's the question that I'm going to be asking the Whotastic panel, and I'm also going to be asking the Who viewers, you guys in the chat. Yes, it's us here at Who's Views Reviews. Nice to see you all. Nice to see you all. Nice.
Yes.
We are here to talk about the legend of Ruby Sunday. I nearly said the legend of Ruby Slippers there, everybody, because that's what I've got in the habit of saying. But we are here to talk about that. It is, isn't it? And it's just as camp. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm here with Paul, I'm here with Third Doctor Ian, I'm here with Jodie, and I'm here with Kirsty, lady of the chat as well. Nice to see you all, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Before we go diving into this as well, I've got some nice thank yous to say, if I can, just for a couple of minutes. I'd like to say a huge thank you to everybody that's subscribing to the channel. We really, really do appreciate it. And I would just like to say thank you for the messages and comments over the last 24 hours, really, from Rose Kirby, The Madman in a Box, Paul Holgate, Paul Ashworth, Mike Disney, Craig Carroll, Lex Main, Steve Hinley. There you go. So thank you to you, but thank you to everybody that's getting in touch. If you do want to get in touch with us here at Who's Views, you can leave a comment in all our videos, or you can get in touch via our email, which is whosviews1@gmail.com. whosviews1@gmail.com. So, how are you all, everybody? Because here we go then. Let's dive into this right now. Oh, goodness. Okay. So, yes, this is Russell T. Davies returning to a classic. Well, I'm going to start this right now. This gets me, guys. I mean, here he is telling us right at the very beginning, you don't need any prior knowledge to this. And there's been so many references to the proper Doctor Who. And then the big guns come out in episode 7, where, spoiler alert, if you have not seen it yet, Sutek arrives, one of our biggest, baddest, beloved, let's be honest, beloved by fans, villains. I have to tell you guys, this is the moment I've been dreading since the reboot in 2005, because I was terribly worried about them doing this and who would write it.
I think the trouble is, I mean, like you're saying, if there's no connection to the old series, and it's not for us regular fans or super fans, what you want to call us, then it's going to be that anticlimax if you don't know who Sutek is. You have to find out who Sutek is, and that's coming, I think, on Friday, on Tales from the TARDIS, to help people catch up, which seems a bit daft if it's a new audience.
And that's only on iPlayer as well.
Yeah. But it's a bit like in the 80s in Arc of Infinity, when Omega appears at the end. If you don't know who that character is, the build-up's a bit of a disappointment because you don't know who it is, you know?
I think you're right, though, JT. RTD has made such a big thing about this being season 1. It's a restart. There's nothing relevant to the original. He's completely expunged all his hang-ups, which clearly is why he cries so much. But this is another example, isn't it, of where he says one thing and then says something completely different, and then something else happens as well. He's not. I don't think he's consistent in his own mind. Where his brain goes, if indeed it goes anywhere at all, because he seems to just do the same old routine theme running through a series. We've talked about that before. But if this is season 1, why are you trawling the classic proper series? Why are you referring to Susan Foreman? For God's sake. I mean, that's from series 1, proper series 1,
Proper
episode
series
1.
1.
First 5 minutes,
61 years ago.
Yeah, and she left a year later in future Earth without a TARDIS, but now she's in modern. It's like
But Ian, she was in the Five Doctors. People must remember that, surely. You know.
Well,
That's funny. That is funny.
40 years ago. You know, it's. I don't know. Is it embarrassing? Is that the word, or is it just up his own arse? I don't think he knows how. You see, if this is series 1, he's got to start it fresh, and he can't do that. He doesn't have the skill to do that. He's just dragging on everything else. He didn't invent Susan Foreman. He didn't invent Sutek. He didn't invent any of the stuff that is dragged into Doctor Who. What has he invented from scratch since the series came back in 2005?
You're right. Much. When you look at it, he didn't even Mel, the whole new unit set up, because of course Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart's daughter Kate is Moffat sort of devised that version, didn't he? So, yeah. But as I say, this was something I feared since day one, because I knew this day would finally come. I knew that they would bring back Sutek at some point. Richard is saying to us here, I bring Russell's gift of dead script writing. I love that, and you might have a point. So let's get to this now, because of course the overnights are in. You have all seen them. You have all seen them. You've all seen them. You've all seen them. So let's look at this. The Legend of Ruby Sunday gets 2.02 million, down from Rogue, which was 2.11. 2.02. That again is a bit of a shocker, isn't it? We've got a couple of you mentioning this already in the chat. So again, thank you so much for joining us. We do appreciate this. Phil, I'm watching you, by the way, in the chats.
He's a right troublemaker, that one. I keep on
Robert is saying to us here, RTD didn't write it, he wronged it, which is quite clever. Divine Dragon was saying to us here, I'm demoralized after seeing that episode. He returned to a classic for a finale when the new audience is too young to know it. The alleged new audience as well. Yeah. Because
it might bring back the fans who've left it back when they find out Sutek's in it, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, and well, this is Raymond is saying to us here. Hi, Raymond. 2.02 million. Did the football stop it dropping further? Well, I don't know, but as usual, what we've got here. Paul is asking us there. Oh gosh, the chat's moving really quickly. Oh my goodness, Paul. Hi, Paul. Will it crash below 2 million?
I thought last week that it might do this week, but for saving face, they would do something to fiddle it to stop it. And that's as close, 2.02 is as close to being below the 2 as it could possibly get. And it wouldn't surprise me if they have done some jiggery pokery. And that, I mean, I do think this was probably the strongest episode of the 7. That's not saying much.
Yeah,
but I think it's suffered from a kickback from the virtually let's go full on and whap out a strap on of last week. Really, that's the kickback from that now. So it doesn't surprise me that it's dropped any further. But certainly
the bad press has not helped it, has it? And it's had bad press since before it started with Space Bubbers, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And they've actually contributed to that. I want to thank Bedouia. Yeah, I want to thank Bedouia, our ratings analysis guru, as I'm calling him, the Who's Master Score Master himself, because again, he's doing all his usual. If you're a regular viewer here on Who's Views, you know that on Headlines, we're bringing Bedouia in to talk about the ratings analysis. We are going to be doing that again tomorrow. This show is, of course, about our review, getting your reviews on it, the Whotastic Panels reviews. But he has started already. Now, look at this. This is where we all stand right now, with The Legend of Ruby Sunday being the lowest overnight episode ever, followed by Boom, Rogue, Dot and Bubble, and then The Legend of the Sea Devils. Is it the word legend that puts people off it?
It's unlucky, yes.
Then The Devil's Board, Space Babies, and 73 Yards. The Eater is the Light, The Lie of the Land, and Battlefield is now out of the overnight top 10 and is there at 11. So justice for Battlefield, as we all know. Yeah, but that shows you where the overnights are. We will be looking at that a little bit more tomorrow. But on the subject of that, of course, last week we played the ratings game. These were the results. This is what the Whotastic panel said. Kirsty went for 2.2. Ian went for 2.0. Paul went for 1.5. Jodie went for 1.9. And I went for 1.9 because I'm determined it's going to get there at some point, even if it's next season. So well done, everybody. Not too far off this time, really, when you think about it.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm really bad at this, I have to say. Yes.
No.
It's a
Give
shame
me
though,
hope for
because
1.5. Yeah.
last night's episode really it was better than the others.
Well, let's get into that, Joe. You
know?
kick us off. What did you think of this?
I was watching it because we did Father's Day last night, so that I'm not completely disowned by my family, and and we were all watching it together with my mum and Kenny as well, her partner. So they hadn't seen any of the new Who, so they quite enjoyed it because they hadn't seen what had come before. But the thing that was sad was he is saying, as the gentlemen have already pointed out, that he's aiming for this new audience and he's not interested in us because we are nutters, obviously. And he's aiming for this new audience, and then he throws in what is, I'm sorry to say this, but it's only if you're a classic Who fan, you're going to know this reference because it's a long time ago. Yeah. And my kids, who are both into Doctor Who, from the new rerun, not from the classic, because when I sit and watch the classic, they wander off. You know, it's like the attention span is typical. You know, this generation, they want everything fast and furious and wah. So they didn't get the reference, and I'd say to them, "Oh, that's from a really great episode from Tom Baker's day." That was absolutely amazing and I loved it. But of course they then don't get, well, that was actually inspired in some part, I think, by Hammer, and they don't have the background. So I'm completely perplexed as to why he would do that, because that's weird, isn't it?
I think so. I do. I mean, it's just, it seems slightly, again, I'm going to use the word everybody, hypocritical. But then again, I'm using that word every other show about this man and his team.
Yeah.
Because they're just, and as Ian alluded to there, they're tying themselves up in all these, this is this, and there's no consistency.
No.
Pick a track and run it, you know? I just want to say hello and thank you to everybody that's joining us. And Mark, you are very naughty. I'm not reading this out. Sorry if you are on the podcast, but yes, no, you're very, very naughty. Yes. And Stephen Braddock is saying to us here, I had people at work asking me, who the hell is Sutek? Illustrating Jodie's point there. Hello to 21st Century Boy. Jason, how are you? Nice to see you. Nice to see you from all the way down there in Brighton. And thank you for your emails this week. It's lovely to reconnect with you, so it's nice to see you. And Phil, our very own Phil, is saying to us, I don't think it will fall below 2 million. The people watching it now are the baseline. I'm inclined to agree with that. But I mean, but the
does
fact
that mean
is,
we've got 2 million hardcore fans watching it then, potentially?
The hardcore fans are very loud, though. The hardcore fans are very loud, and they're very, very intense about this being amazing. And they don't seem to realize the writing isn't tight. It's not clever. He throws in too many ideas at once and he doesn't tie them all up. You know, for me that's the problem. I can enjoy it in the moment, but I suspect if I go back to it, I'll see the next thing that kind of winds me up.
Joe,
we mentioned about Susan earlier. Ian touched on it at the start. And this is I think this is a complete red herring, to be honest.
Well, of course
but
it is.
Like, why bother though? It's you know, because I think they had little hints about the Susan Twist character having dreams of orange skies, suggesting Gallifrey and all that kind of nonsense. And it's like, well, you know, why are you doing this? You're not going to lead anyway. You're just going to just go down a cul-de-sac or something, or not sort it out. You know.
Can we come back to the Susan Twist thing in a couple of seconds?
Of course,
what Jodie was saying there as well about that whole thing there. If you have been, and it looks likely that nobody was, but if you are a passing member of the British public and you put on BBC One when this thing was going out on television and you're sitting there, you're not going to get this, are you? You're going to recognise Bonnie Langford. That's it.
Yeah.
You're going to recognise Bonnie. That's the only person in there you're going to recognise. So
my mom was immediately like, that's Bonnie Langford.
Yeah. And how brilliant was she?
I'm not sure she even knew Bonnie Langford was in the original series.
Well, most people don't. Because again, you know, back in the 80s, it was 1985 Bonnie was announced. 1986 she came in. She was gone by the end of 1987.
Yeah.
So again, this is why I'm caught. I had the headline at the beginning of the titles for this is sort of, you know, bangs and whistles and flashes and bangs and all this, because again, this is RTD doing what he does. Everything is saved for these lovely finales that we know he likes because he said that. He throws everything into it. usually part 2 is the letdown as well, isn't it? So let's be interested in
Yeah.
what we're going to see about next week's. But you get all this big build up. Now he's thrown this in. Imagine if you remember the public that's just had this on, you think, what the hell is going on with this? Because I have to say, it did look spectacular. But again, it was all whistles and flashes and all this sort of stuff for me. And I just thought none about this makes any sense at all. And I was going to build into what you're going to say about Susan Twist, or what you're saying about Susan Twist there. This wasn't, for me, 8 episodes is not enough to do what he's tried to do in this episode, because we even had, hang on while I get my graphic up. Oh, madam, years. Look, this stuff. So these are the Susan Twists we've seen, characters. These are the characters we've seen in the show. But then they go and intimate. There's a Borg type character, and there's a horned one, madam, there, and a couple of others, which the audience, which the fans haven't seen. So obviously they've been going on. Can you imagine, everybody? Who viewers, can you imagine that scene, that opening scene where the TARDIS is why doesn't it materialize anymore in a polite way? It's whizzing through space like the Enterprise towards the unit tower. Why? What's happened to them before to be able to say to them, we need to go to you? Now, instead of Rogue, why didn't we have a 3rd installment which threatened them so much? Can you imagine the cliffhanger ending there, where the Doctor turns to Ruby and says, we have to go one place, I need to go. Bang. That opening would have made much more sense.
I think they could have sown the seeds of this idea much earlier on, and there are little hints, but not enough to make it work to this point. You know what I mean? If they built it in from Church and Ruby Road a bit more with Sutekh involvement or something to make it connect a bit more, it's just too vague, and then all of a sudden it's Sutekh. It's weird.
Yeah, I agree with it. I think there's no payoff. When you had your 13, 14 episodes and the thing would build up, because what they were expecting the audience to be yesterday is, oh, it's a great reveal. It wasn't, because they haven't got to know this character, and even that character there, Susan's character there, hasn't actually been. It's been hinted at. I mean, she's had the role, but again, it's so alienating because the fans know she's there because it's publicized, but the public won't do. The public won't know.
Also, can you get over the whole?
She's in a photograph. She's a painting. It's like, Blinky, you missed that bit. It's like.
But there's a whole obsession with anagrams. I mean,
he's repeating what he did more successfully in series 3 with the whole Yana. You are not alone.
Can you imagine Sutekh sitting in wherever he's sitting, going, no, Sutekh technology. Yeah, that'll work. Yeah.
It's just silly.
He's not stupid, is he? Let's be honest.
I don't know how Sutekh could sit and think of anything, considering he was aged to death over an accelerated 7,000 years at the end of Pyramids of Mars.
Oh, so we thought, obviously.
Yeah, and it's just
the thing, isn't it?
T. Davis again taking somebody else's work, which was a nice beginning, middle, and end, and then changing it. Bastardizing it into something
Ian,
of his own.
This is the problem when you've got fans running the show. They have to go back and bastardize all the other stuff because they're fans. Kirsty, what are you going to say, sweetie?
People will get this if you watch The Last Jedi or The Rise of Skywalker. Somehow, Palpatine has returned. Somehow, Sutekh has returned. Just this magical fluff happen and just accept it and move on. That's how they want. And it's, accept, move on to the next magical MacGuffin.
Talking about Sutekh, let's say hello to our friend Jack during Drat Rabbit. I am Russell the Destroyer. Where I tread, I leave nothing but merchandise landfills and low ratings. I find that proof of how oppressed I am. So, thanks for that, Jack. Thanks for joining us tonight. And actually, just talking of Jack, I want to say thank you very much as well to Jack for sending us. Now, if you've seen one of our chit chats with Jack, you'll know that he's an artist, and he has sent us a picture. And he's sent us this one, which I love. Thank you for this, Jack. This is proper Sutekh.
I love that.
So well done.
I'm hoping that Sutekh will become sort of a more humanoid figure to face off against Ncuti, if that happens, because that would be beautiful if they did that. And at
it needs to be practical, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It needs to be practical.
Because the CGI looks great, but it needs to be something you can confront.
Well, does it? I mean, I looked at this thing. That can't be Sutekh, surely. That must be a guard or something, or one of his sort of like maidens, if you like, or something. This can't be. I mean, this is the problem with this big budget as well now, isn't it? the over-reliance these days for everything really on CGI. I mean, you can't beat the original one where it's just a latex beautiful mask made by a human being, can you?
And it was
Well,
scary.
I don't know
I mean,
if
it was
Sutek
static,
was
but it was
speaking, the
scary.
mouth wasn't moving. It'd be a bit like Space Babies, kind of that kind of thing going on. But yeah,
Right. Okay. What were you saying, Ian?
No, I was thinking the original Sutek mask. Yes, his mouth didn't move when he spoke, but it was scary as hell. And his eyes were green. The eye of Horus was red, but his eyes were green. But it was scary. But I wasn't that impressed with that CGI. It was obviously CGI. And if you're going to use CGI and it looks like CGI, don't bloody use CGI. Make it practical. And then enhance it a bit if you like. Like you have creatures and you use CGI to make their eyes go like that, fine. But don't, if you can't do it well, then they'll be watching it at the rushes and whatever, and they'll all be going, yes, it looks fantastic.
Oh, they'll love it all. They'll think it's all so clever. And a lot of them that are working on it, of course, won't even know who Sutek is. It's we're off already. They won't know. At all. You're watching us here at Who's Views. Thank you for joining us. Yes, let's see who is on the Who's Views hotline already. We're up and off already. Oh, hello. This is Who's Views Reviews. Can I help you?
Hello. Yes, I'd like to complain. Excuse me. Doctor Who is always changing, and sometimes agendas are more obvious than others across all media. I figure nobody has to watch the bits they don't line with, so it doesn't undermine the bits that you enjoy. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thanks very much. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the argument, though, isn't it? We don't have to watch. Well, guess what? We're not. People have switched off and switched off and switched off. And if there was, God, what was it about this one that really, really got to fandom today? Because all I've seen since yesterday, actually, looking at this, and hello to Just Jordan, who's saying to us, look, it's taken 7 episodes for it to look anything like Doctor Who. Totally agree with that, Just Jordan. Yeah. I totally agree with that. But is that the reason, do you think, why fandom have gone into certain elements of fandom have gone into meltdown over this, saying, oh, this is brilliant, this is wonderful, this is fantastic?
It's blue balls. We deserve better. They've just been teased, and it's not lived up to performance, if you get my euphemism.
I think the best bit was the last 15 minutes for me, to be honest. The build-up was really, really slow, and it was just like, oh, come on, get on with it,
There was one bit where I'd had a few glasses of wine when I watched it, so please excuse me if my memory is not perfect. There was one bit, I meant to watch it again today, but didn't, sorry. Anyway, there was one bit where he sent the guard round the back of the TARDIS. Yeah? Yeah. And
yes.
That was the one bit for me really didn't work. And it didn't work in the same way that last week for me, the kiss didn't work, because for me, Doctor Who is, well, the Doctor's always looking out for the underdog, is always looking to save people, is always looking to do the very best he can. He totally sacrificed that guy. And last week, he was kissing while Ruby was about to be blasted to nowhere. Oh my God, that to me brought me out of it both times. I didn't like that, but
it's a great point.
That's just me.
No, it's not just you. It's a fantastic point, because this isn't the Doctor. No. And the way that Russell is writing this version now, I don't know what he's doing. To tie in with your point there as well, he is doing things which I'm going to call, they're out of character for this.
They're not Doctor-like.
They're not Doctor-like. There's that other bit there where Kate is addressing the whole thing about Susan. My father never even said you had a granddaughter. Why would you?
Give me a cuddle. Yeah.
And then he says, something along the lines of, "Oh, was a different Doctor back then." That's the whole point. Yeah. He's not. He's the exact same, supposed to be the exact same Doctor that William Hartnell arrived in with 1963. And the reason he hasn't spoke about Susan, I thought that was quite good. The fact that, well, why would I go back and see people? Because trouble is bound to follow me. That's actually quite good. But this is part of the humanization of the character, I think, to make the Doctor more relatable to what audience Russell wants. What do you guys think?
I have to say, I was rooting for Mel when he had his crying fit outside before he went to meet Susan Twist, and I was hoping she was going to slap him one, but she didn't. But she was like, "Get a grip, you." That was really good. So well done, Bonnie. That was.
But again, it wasn't the Doctor's thing, was it? I mean, the Doctor wouldn't be doing that. I was watching this thinking what's going on here, and it's so annoying as well because, as I said in our review of Rogue, I've now decided I can't see the Doctor with Mr. Gatwa. I can't see. Hello, Peter Oliver Williams, by the way, nice to see you. I can't see the Doctor in his performance at all, and yet last night there were a couple of glimpses, and I thought, oh, this is the writing and the performance not gelling. And they're going for this bigger picture. They've obviously had this meeting about where we're going to take him. He's going to cry. He's going to be more human. He's going to be more accessible. He's going to be, more representative of the audience they want, which must be gullible ninnies.
But the problem with that is that it's like if you take Spock from Star Trek and suddenly humanize him, it doesn't work because people fall in love with the characters as they are. And we might be very inflexible that way, but it's like you don't want to see one of your favorite characters change completely because you've bought into the whole concept. And I don't know, the Doctor for me was just someone who always saved the little guy, and I know the soldier, maybe a lot of folk wouldn't see him as the little guy, but he was totally expendable, and that was vicious. And only Mel seemed to see that it was wrong, but it was like, well, why don't you go around the back of the bloody TARDIS then?
Again, I think that whole thing was just to prove they can do certain things now, because I mean, it was a bit Star Trekky.
Well, it was holodeck, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's the word I was looking for. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I mean, it could be because of all this. What do you make of this, everybody? This is from the Radio Times. Doctor Who director teases movie-style finale. People are going to be shocked. We want to end on a bang like we've never seen. Excitement is building rapidly for this week's episode of Doctor Who, The Legend of Ruby Sunday, which forms the first part of a 2-season finale. The article continues. Showrunner Russell T Davies has spent plenty of time hyping up the story, calling it the biggest finale ever, and stressing that fans will be screaming when they see it. Maybe, but maybe not all for the right reasons. Now, director Jamie Donahue has added to that chorus, stressing the scale and scope of the finale, which he says will leave fans shocked. Showrunner Russell T Davies has spent plenty of time hyping up the story. I'm going to add this bit here. Speaking in this week's issue of Radio Times, he said, "We want to end on a bang like we've never seen. The finale is like a huge feature film. I think a lot of people will going to be shocked if I can pull it off, and hopefully I will." Meanwhile, Lenny Rush, who plays new character Morris Gibbons, teased an action scene where prop guns were used and fake bullets, and returning star Bonnie Langford, who plays Mel, said the now famous scene of her riding a Vespa through London is about all she can tell us ahead of time. Speaking exclusively Radio Times, Langford did, however, offer some additional information, saying Mel now has been basically spying in another job to gain information about an organization that Eunice is quite worried about. And then the Doctor arrives because, he's heard about things as well. And it all then literally cranks up very quickly. So Mel is able to, having infiltrated this area, offer up all that information and support, and basically takes the Doctor on a Vespa. I know, laughs. It's camp as hell. It's brilliant. Mel will go to the end of the earth for the Doctor. She knows his history and also his love for the planet, the universe, everything involved. It's so genuine. It's so authentic. And she's just thrilled to be beside him again. But it was all about this. It was all about this sort of, this is going to be the big one. And I was wondering, is that why a lot of the fans have reacted to the fact going, oh yes, because some of them actually believe all this propaganda as well, don't they? And they'll go with it. They'll say, oh yes, it was big, it was wonderful. Because how many of them, as you guys are saying, how many of them would have known who Sutekh was? How many of them just thought it was good because this is possibly the strongest one so far of the entire series?
I've seen a lot on social media that people are like, "Oh, who's Sutekh?" And then this build-up is for nothing, or you pretending that you're a Who know-it-all, and then people ask about Sutekh, and you've got to kind of pretend. That's a lot of TikToks and memes that are going around today on social media. I just know who Sutekh is because of my flavour of neurodiversity. So I knew about Sutekh long ago. So I'm classed as one of those fans. But yeah.
But I think there's a lot I don't know about the early season, Kirsty. I'm quite ignorant about some of the very early Who, because I find it quite hard to watch actually. And I know that I'm sorry, JT.
Right, you're finished now.
Yeah, no, I am finished now. But I do find some of the early ones quite difficult to watch. And although I can appreciate bits of them, I still gravitate to Tom Baker as my absolute favourite, and I have a real soft spot for Pertwee because he was my granddad's kind of favourite Doctor Who. But I have to say, the one thing that also is paralleling for me at the moment with this current series is I really didn't like the John Pertwee season being so trapped on Earth all the time. I didn't mind bits of it being on Earth. I loved Unit. I didn't have an issue with Unit at all. I really love the performances from the Brigadier and all that sort of thing. But this one's been just as trapped on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And that, to me, is somewhat disappointing. I mean, yes, there were space babies, but it was so grotesquely awful. I don't even want to remember it. And Dot and Bubble, you could argue, wasn't trapped in Earth, but I don't know. I just feel they keep coming back to Earth, and it could do to just go wider and be a bit more fun and not quite so thinking about itself all the time and trying to be clever all the time.
Thanks, Stuart. Can I just butt in here as well before you start, Paul? Just say thank you very much to Hugh Janus, which I know Kirsty likes me saying. Thank you very much, who's given us £2. Thank you so much for this. Things have changed slightly here on the channel because we've got to this sort of special thing, which I'm still learning about. So thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that, Hugh, £2. And he's saying to us, it wasn't a bloody anagram. That's that's what threw me, and that's what reminded me about the whole sort of, hang on a second, this was him going back to the season 3 reveal of You Are Not Alone. Professor Yana was the master, which I actually did fall off my seat about. That's how involved I was. That was a complete surprise to me. I must have been the only person in the world that didn't know the master was coming back. But that did surprise me, and the build-up and the build-up and the build-up. And he seemed to be trying to repeat the same thing here. But as Paul, you were saying at the beginning of the show, why would Sutekh be? He's the god. He's a god. In fact, he's the god. He's the most powerful god the Doctor's ever come up. Never mind the gods of Ragnarok or anything like this, or all these nonsense things we've had since the Church of Ruby Road, or the Celestial Toymaker was suddenly a god either, which he never was, in my opinion. So never mind all that. This is Sutekh, and you can't even spell his name right. And why would he advertise that he's coming back to the Doctor? Why has he been? I mean, go on, Paul.
It just annoyed me that Sutekh is a god. Sutekh wasn't a god. Sutekh was an alien and a siren from the planet. I think Terrence Dix called it something else. I think he called it something like Phaester Osiris, but he was an Osiren, and very, very long-lived and very, very powerful, but an alien. And the ancient Egyptians interpreted this as a lot of ancient species would, or civilizations would. You're a god. But he wasn't. He was just a very, 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 very advanced alien. All of them were. Horus was. But now he's a god. I think he's a god because it's convenient.
He's a god. He's a god. We were told it all the way through, weren't we? He's a god. He's a god.
And he isn't. He is not a god at all. It's bollocks. Absolute bollocks. It really
he's just a very naughty boy. That's all. Yeah.
It's very odd to put that one in, because I'm glad it wasn't just me, because I'm getting all this sort of stuff coming through. There's a god coming back. There's a god doing this, and I'm just thinking, well, why would the god do that? And then you've said there, Sutekh isn't a god, which of course he wasn't. And he did die out because the Osirians could die.
Yeah.
Oh, for me, it's getting very confusing. Talons of Wen Chiang is saying to us here, playing devil's advocate again. Do you think the ratings for this one are so low because people held off watching it because they're going to the cinema next weekend to watch both?
No.
There you go.
No.
A concise answer for you there, Talons.
I think that's a gimmick.
Yeah, and like the iPlayer, it's going to shoot. They're going to shoot themselves in the foot because it's going to just, make the ratings less, really effectively.
Gosh, thank you.
Everybody. Yeah, I was going to say, GT, was about going back to what Jodie said about this fixation with Earth. It seems to be that Russell T Davies was afraid. You think now they've got Disney money. They can go to different planets. Now they can really do it and do it justice, you'd like to think, and they're not going away anywhere they could possibly go. And they've got this come back to Earth to link it to Earth for the general audience. I think we can relate to that. But the companions might be the relatable part of it, not the travels. So you can go anywhere you want with the budget you've got. Why don't you do it,
Well, I mean, the whole thing about Pertwee's era being set on Earth, certainly in the first couple of years, was budgetary. Yeah. And the fact that they just switched across to colour television, which was a lot more expensive to produce. So they had less money, they had less episodes, it wasn't on all year anymore, and they were trying to make the most of it. So they made it earthbound so they could use locations without having to build everything as a set or use a quarry. And that is not their situation now. They have more money than obviously spent now, but they're not using it. It's a tragic waste, really.
Well, they built the TARDIS set and they built the unit set. There's your money.
They've blown it all on that. Yeah.
I mean, the really sad thing is they've lost the true quirkiness of the Doctor as well.
Yes.
I really miss that, because no matter which incarnation you looked at in Classic Who, they were all had their really odd quirks that made them seem as though they could be this hundreds of year old alien who was from another planet and, you know, had this backstory. I'm not getting that with this guy at all.
No,
with the honey and the babes, and
I'm not getting it with the writing either, because he's forgot it. Mr. Mark, and this is supposed to be fan, Mr. Mark is saying to us, God or dog, and a huge thank you to Paul Ashworth for giving us £4. Thank you so much for that, Paul. And he's saying to us, RTD will be kecking himself at these ratings. Now, I think that's true. I think that's absolutely true, because he's already said, hasn't he, this week, or it was reported this week, he's actually said to us, to the reporter in Radio Times, these are not the ratings we wanted. We always want higher.
These are not the ratings we're looking for. That's what.
Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly. So they're very aware of it. They're obviously very disappointed. But Paul Ashworth, what's going to come next? Nothing, because Series 2 is in the can. We keep saying it on news. It's in the can. We might get it. Well, we're going to get it from Christmas onwards, aren't we? Christmas Day. And then we might get it shortly after that, because I do passionately believe they're going to throw it into January's mix now to try and boost those ratings up again and say, oh, this was a blip. Series 1 was a blip. Isn't it wonderful, marvelous now, because we've gone up a few million. Thank you, Paul. Really appreciate it.
GT, I was going to ask you, you said watching this episode that you saw moments of the Doctor in Shooty. Can you remember what those moments were? I know you've probably watched it once. No, okay.
No,
so they weren't even that memorable to remember what they were. Okay.
No,
because I've not seen really moments in them at all. I thought I was going to, but I've not seen them. I can't see him as the Doctor at all. Really can't.
Well, the one moment that I thought, oh, hang on, it was, had it not been for the dialogue, it was the bit where he was talking to Kate about Susan. But I think, I think had an actor, I keep thinking to myself, and I shouldn't do really, but had that been Capaldi, had that been even Tennant, had that been Smith, it would have played a different way, because they would have been grounded. If it had been any, and it was never going to be, had it been any of the 7 original actors, totally different meaning as well, because they were nearer to Susan at the time. But there was that little bit there, and then it went off on that. The lines were just awful. A lot of the lines were in this as well. Another element where I didn't see the Doctor, Jodie, was the ending, because this one was looking, when he realizes who he's up against, I was expecting him to cry, and then he's just sort of like. Whereas if it had been Sylvester, it would have been a little bit more stern, thinking, right, the game's on now. We're having a fight now. The rest of them would have been a little bit like, oh, it's you, is it? Right. Okay, got to get my act together. Whereas this one looks terrified.
But he does seem to look terrified a lot. And that's, I don't know if that's the humanizing thing again, but I just think it's I don't know.
It's the bioregeneration that watered him down. That's what's happened.
I mean, Troughton always looked kind of horrified or terrified of what was coming on, but a lot of the time you knew that was a bit of a ruse to get the the enemy thinking.
He played the idiot to sort of con everybody.
It was clever. Whereas this guy,
I don't think he's doing that though, is he?
Well, Patrick Troughton was incredibly accomplished as an actor.
You
know, he could do anything. Could Troughton?
Well, they could, because he was a proper character actor as well, as we all know. But it just shows to me. I don't know if you guys will agree with this. And thank you to Halusi Jason. Welcome to Who's Views. Not seen you here before. Welcome. Who says the Target novelization as a preface that talk about this. And I love that preface. That sets it up. And considering that I remember once RTD saying, Halusi Jason, that he'd read the Pyramids of Mars Target novel hundreds of times, like most of us of a certain age would have done. It doesn't really show in this script yet, because remember, this is part 1 of 2. But come on. But here's the whole point of, it's as though RTD and Shooty have sat down, and RT said, as we know, I want a more emotional Doctor. And I do believe now, having got to part 7 of this thing, that they've tried to humanize him, Jode. And what they've done is said, the youngsters need a character who will show all these emotions. And that ruins the whole thing, because as I keep saying to these people on social media, the Doctor isn't human.
Yeah.
What younger people
When he
need,
went
I
to
think.
meet Susan, he just
I got Paul. I got Paul.
tears, you know?
Let's bring it in there. Sorry, go on, Ian.
Sorry,
And then
Paul.
we can
Right.
What younger people think, what younger people need, I think, is a character that can play a role model that knows how to control and handle his feelings, not shit his pants and cry every 5 minutes. Frankly,
That's what I was going to say.
And I'm not surprised, Paul.
Yeah, go on then, Paul.
No, I was going to say that really annoyed me when he was going to see Susan and he stopped and pulled that "I'm about to cry" face. I was like, "Oh, please stop doing that! You've no gravitas, for goodness' sake."
None.
Is that the bit where Mel told him off?
Just before that, yeah, I was like, "Oh God," you know, it's like.
But I mean, there's also the fact that, you know, the companion was supposed to be the one that you. Well, as a child, all I can say is that's who I wanted to be. I wanted to be the companion. I wanted to do what they did. You know, I wanted to be that person traveling with the Doctor. And that's because the Doctor was, I hate to say it, was in control and was so commanding and knew what to do in these awful situations. And even when he didn't know what to do, he would try and make you believe he could get you out of it. And that's why it was such a shock when things happened in the classic series like Earthshock and Adric and you know, when you lost a companion, it was a really huge deal because he did his utmost not to let that happen. But he didn't cry about it. That would be like, I don't know. It's just not the way he reacted. So they've made a different character.
Totally. Yeah. And they've made a character based around their ideological agendas about what they assume the audience wants. Well, shock horror and newsflash to everybody over at Bad Wolf Towers, you haven't got an audience. I know they've been pushing this week, haven't they, everybody? Been pushing the fact that, the young people, this is one of the spin things we were talking about on headlines this week. We were aiming for young people. The young people are there. That's all that matters. No, it's not. You're getting 2 million, and that's really where it's going to settle, I reckon now. 2 million. That's not enough to sustain a series over the next God knows how many years you planned. And it's certainly not enough to sustain these possible spin-offs you're planning, like the Unit special and the Sea Devil special, if they're not the one and the same. Jason from 21st Century Boys saying to us here, ancient aliens from the demons to the Osirans are aliens in the world of Doctor Who. And that's why it works. You know, that's what makes Doctor Who, isn't it? There's always a science fiction spin.
But they started mucking about with canon a long time ago, and I've been kind of going la 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 because I can't handle that. I just can't.
Yeah,
I just want them to stick to what is the right story. You forgive a little blip here and there, but they've been really mucking about with it for a long time now.
Neville is saying to us here, in the series finale, the Doctor throws a stick for Sutek. I'll shut him up. Yeah, Mr. Mark, nice to see you. Welcome to Who's Views. Yes, a quirky Doctor. That's why I love classic. It's part of this thing that the quirky Doctor also represented the fact that this was a Time Lord that ran away from his own people and his own planet in a stolen TARDIS to travel through time and space and get lost and have adventures and meet people and have a bit of fun. And he just happened to be the fact that he got into all these nasty situations as well. That was just a sideline for him, wasn't it? So he was going to sort of stay quirky around that side of
and he wasn't always likable, and he was quite arrogant a lot of the time, and he wasn't always someone that you thought you could identify with at times.
When I mean, you look right at the very start, Hartnell's Doctor, was it episode 3 of Unearthly Child? The cavemen that were keeping him prisoner, one of them injured by a lion or some other thing, and he was advocating doing his head in with a stone and escaping. That was the Doctor then. You know, it was not always likable at all, and it was
Colin Baker's Doctor
made him more. Yeah,
you know, Colin Baker's Doctor was very hard to like at times.
Even Pertwee was quite stroppy at times.
He was quite irascible, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yes, it could be. Yeah, I'm not surprised surrounded by all those humans in Unit, though. Do you know
all
what I mean?
Those government officials you had to deal with.
Exactly.
Sometimes Pertwee. I mean, you know, Pertwee fan, obviously, but sometimes he would, like Claws of Axis, he would be very establishment, wouldn't he? You know, who's in charge of you pen pushers these days? Old Tubby Rowland, wasn't it? I was talking to him down the club only the other day. You know, that was also very Pertwee at times. Sometimes pushing against authority, and sometimes being very much in bed with it.
Yeah, and you also think of him, he was the scientific advisor, right? That has been lost. Where's the science?
He's a 13-year-old on a bloody Segway now, isn't it?
Yeah.
He is a boy genius.
Talking like a cut price Sid James.
Well, listen, seeing as you've mentioned that, can I just say there were two elements of this story. Now, before you certain people of this go on and on and on and on, I'm going to make it very clear it was the characters here that I had a situation with, because as far as I'm concerned, they were just lying around doing nothing. And the characters that I'm going to say are these two. Why were these two young people in this? And I think we all know the answer. I'm not going to say it, but I think we know the answer there. I mean, they just didn't contribute anything to the story at all. The one on the left was just hanging around, basically, and given some twee thing because he has to be there. And then the one on the right, I'm sorry, I can't remember the actors' names or the characters because they're so forgettable. I mean,
he was Morris,
right?
That's Lenny Rush. Yeah.
Well, I don't understand why Morris was there, and why would someone like Unit, even though he's a boy genius, and in Doctor Who we know all about boy geniuses, don't we? The last one we saw was in that Sontaran thing from years ago, wasn't it? You know.
Yeah.
Why would Unit put these children in danger like this? Because if it's Unit in this big flashy Marvel-esque type tower they're in now, surely there's a risk of invasion every single day.
Yeah.
I don't know why they didn't keep.
I don't know why they didn't keep Shirley Ann Bingham into it, because she was in Star Beast and in The Giggle. So to try and establish her more, they should have kept her in that and kept Yasmin and Lenny Rush out of it, because they don't need them at all.
No, they were just there, and I think it is because of representation, to be honest, and ticking a box to suit the BBC's 20% quota. Because I was saying they're not contributing anything to the script. They could have been merged into the same character of a more mature scientific advisor who was there just to go and say, "This thing's about to blow up, Doctor." I mean, Mel could have done that properly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The BBC quotas were fully the BBC's quotas were fully represented in that unit staffing role there. All of them, you could see.
Peter Oliver is saying the same. Peter Oliver Williams is saying the same thing, Ian. Yeah. Unit is a DEI policy to follow.
Every possible box.
What?
Sorry, Lenny only got the job. He was supposed to be one of the voices in Space Babies, but then he did the script reading, and then they didn't like it, so Russell put the story for him, so that's why he got the job.
Yeah. See, they're not thinking it through. And Stephen's saying here as well, what I was thinking last night, I was watching this thing, a 13 and a 15-year-old in Unit, what happens if they die? And we actually saw a couple of people in the Unit yesterday die, as Unit people tend to do. This goes right back to the invasion with Troughton, doesn't it? They tend to get bumped off, you know. So there was no way. This was just pure laziness, I think, to be able to say, oh, we've got to have these two people in. And the other thing that wound me up, I'm off, was that blooming line from Anita Dobson's character. Yes. Aren't you lovely? Yeah, oh, can we get over that, please? That's just subliminally telling us that's.
And then going to Ruby, you're okay as well, or something like that. That was pathetic. It really was.
XSM is saying this is why I can't take Unit seriously, and Robert is telling us here Unit is supposed to be a branch of the military. Look, it has moved on though by the look of this, isn't it? And Adrian,
they've kind of taken the military out of it, I think.
Well, they can't. I mean, they can't even use the original acronym for the United Nations Intelligence Task Force now, because
it's unified now. It sounds like milk, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Adrian, it's nice to see you. Adrian Sherlock, who's saying when Mel said "stop grizzling," the 15th Doctor is a child. It's amazing that Mel didn't, as you guys were saying before, just turn around and say, "What's wrong with you? You know, what's going on?" Paul Richard is saying RTD can't write Unit. It's laughably bad.
Yeah.
I'm just slightly worried that the big finale is going to be a song and dance routine, given Bonnie Langford's background in musical theatre.
Well, at least with Bonnie, it would be classy. Yeah. You're not like that thing we got with the Devil's Board. You know, Bonnie would pull something off, wouldn't she? Yeah. She'd be able to do it properly and produce it brilliant and have all the effects and stuff and actually make it relevant. Whereas that thing in the Devil's Board was just tacked on. But even Bonnie knows when you don't do things like that. She's a showbiz pro, isn't she? Come on.
I think Lenny Rush is going to turn out to be Banacafalata. He'll reveal himself or something like that, you know.
Oh, no, It just annoyed me. Yeah. Terry T is here. Thank you very much. Very much for your comment. That is wonderful. Yeah. And Gilliam is saying Morris was still in school, could not film till school break. I just there was all that thing as well. It just didn't. The two of them. I thought, what a waste of one decent part for one decent actor. Go on, Kirsty.
It did make me laugh that when he landed onto the TARDIS, or he landed onto Unit after coming out the TARDIS, and he couldn't lift up Yasmin Finney properly.
Yeah.
Oh.
That did make
There's
me
a reason for that, though. Come on.
he made him look really ridiculous because he's so tall as well. That made him look really silly, I think.
Yeah. Well,
it took a lift up.
Problem being is joining us in the chat. Nice to see you, mate. So thank you to Kirsty and Garbage and Problem Being for being in the chat, making sure everybody's cozy and happy. He's saying, where is Tennant? That was the other annoying thing about that whole thing.
Yeah.
When the TARDIS slides in, trying to be the Enterprise or an Eagle from Space 1999 or wherever it's going to be, because they want the big drama, don't they? They want this big, oh, look at this big opening we've got. This is going to be fabulous for you. Please, young, get on with it. There's that thing, how's your uncle? And I just thought, oh, God, shut up. You are her uncle, you nonce. If this is the same character. And also, this opens up, doesn't it, Problem Being? This opens up a can of worms here. Because if Tennant's living down the road.
Yeah, he would help.
Why isn't the 10th Doctor in Unit every other day? The 14th Doctor in Unit every other day, solving out the problems with them like the 3rd Doctor used to be.
Yeah.
So every time Earth is now, like with this one, the big bad, Sutek, here he is. Is Tennant's 14th Doctor going to turn up? Because why would the Doctor ignore something like that going on? Because another incarnation's there. Oh,
but my
head!
Because he's allowed a rest. He's on permanent holiday.
Yeah.
My feelings.
Yeah, but he's not, though.
No.
What are you saying, Kirsty? Sorry, I can't hear.
My feelings, my therapy. That you have to get the chakras right for him to be able to have the right mentality and headspace to save the world, because again, my feelings and the world's hard and he needs a little bit of a hug and some love. That's why.
There was too much hugging in that bloody episode anyway.
Yeah, I mean, the end of the world is happening again. You're not going to run around hugging people, are you? You're going to get on with the job of trying to stop it, especially if you're in something called Unit.
That could not have been more unlike the military. I can say that from experience. It is
exactly. And it wasn't like our Unit either. Can you imagine under the old days of Brigadier Alistair Gordon Lethbridge Stewart? He would have none of that nonsense going on. It's, chap with wings, 5 rounds rapid, for crying out loud. That's
2 chaps hugging, 5 rounds rapid, more like.
That would not be with the brick. Dim Open is saying here, I really enjoyed Morris, but absolutely can see how others would not. I mean, he put in a fine performance, the lads. It's not the actor I'm getting at, it's the character. The 2 characters I mentioned there, I don't see why they were there at all, because it didn't suit the narrative of the story.
I think you'd have got away with him though if she hadn't been there.
Yeah.
Well, if one or both of them gets bumped off next week, not bloody likely, let's face it. What would they do and go back to their families? Can you imagine Donna Noble?
She'd rip him a new one.
Also supposedly worked for Unit. Where was she?
Well, I'll probably
in the job,
play or something. Mr. Mark is saying to us, this is a rubbish mess. It was one of it's one of these things, isn't it? It's the RTD thing of let's throw everything in, including the kitchen sink.
Yeah.
And
see what sticks. Of his finales. Yeah. Yes, exactly, Paul. See what sticks. And did anything? Bedweir's here. Now, I have to tell you, everybody, you will know that Bedweir has not watched this entire season, but for some reason he did last night. So he'll be back with us tomorrow to talk about his experience of watching this and also looking at the ratings. But he's saying here...
We did warn you.
Yes. Well, listen, saying that Morris was Unit's advisor for stating the bloody obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's I don't know. It just, again, I'm going to say this, and I've been saying this all the way through this season, haven't I? It needed a rewrite. It needed another draft. It needed somebody else to say, can you tighten that bit up? Can you take that bit out? Can you add that little bit? Because it was all geared towards, as he tends to write, that cliffhanger. It's as though he's thought of the cliffhanger first and then the rest of the episode around it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what? Certain things that made Pyramids of Mars really great and scary. It was I liked it when Marcus Scarman first came back through the time tunnel or the corridor, and he got Ibrahim and he put his hands on his shoulders, and it was all just the smoke as it killed him. A real convincing, scary practical effect. And when he was walking, his footprints were smoking, weren't they, on the floor?
Yes,
yes.
And then she touched him, and he just crumbled to dust with a typical CGI effect that we've seen 100 times before. But that was totally different to how the squaddy at the back of the TARDIS died. He was just turned like into stone. So there was no consistency there. But I would have loved it if she'd just touched the guy and he'd smoked and just dropped dead on the floor. But the other thing that really made Pyramids of Mars scary, because Sutekh, you only really saw him in bits until the end, and a hand behind his chair, which God knows what that hand was doing. But I mean, that was his voice, wasn't it, that was scary, Gabriel Wolf. But it was the mummies.
Mm-hmm.
And I said on my thing, where's the mummies? The mummies made me shit myself when I was watching Pyramids of Mars, age 10 or 9. And it was just, they were scary as hell. You know, they just lumbered, killed people, didn't say anything. They never ran, they just walked, but they were never going to stop. And you knew they would catch people. And they were just terrifying. And, you know, you could have gone into the unit archive and found 2 preserved mummies that came back to life. That would have been scary. That would have scared the little ones. But Christ, no, let's just have some CGI bollocks and be done with it.
But he hasn't got the time for that, has he? Because what he's got to do is he's got to tie up the 7 previous episodes and everything he's put himself down there. 8 if you include, 7 including the Christmas thing. I mean, there was so much to look at. The snow was back in this.
Yeah.
The whole thing about the Susan Twist character. I mean, there was so much. My headache. Mrs. Flood's there. Gore Vidal is saying to her, I'll come to you in a sec, Joe. Ruby and Rose became instant besties, even holding hands immediately after meeting. Who does that? Well, I can tell you who does that. It's a certain element of the market share, the audience that they're going for. It's the Be Kind Brigade. Go on, Jodie.
No, I just feel he's obsessed with running images, and that's clever if you've really thought it out, and it's going to have a resolution that's smart. He doesn't tend to do that. He tends to have a running image and it runs for a season, and then it just vanishes again. And I don't know. He's got too many running images in this one. I'm almost overwhelmed by it. I want it to be slightly simpler, just so it has a cohesive story plot. He hasn't got that. He hasn't got something cohesive. He's just trying for a whole load of different. This idea and that idea, and then this idea, and he's going to link them with one face, Susan Twist. But he's also going to have the snow, and he's also going to have the mother of Ruby Sunday, and he's also going to have. It's too many.
Yeah, and that's the whole problem. If it had been 13 or 14, it may have worked. I mean, he has sort of hinted that some of this continues into the second series. Now, if that's the case, we know why. It's because he suddenly realized, possibly halfway through this, I can't resolve everything in 8 episodes. Allegedly, everything allegedly, by the way. So we don't want anything else.
I actually think he's linked all this together in the vain hope that he'll maintain the audience over 2 series, which is not going to happen.
Well, yeah, because the assumption going into Space Babies was that absolutely everybody was going to be here, and they were going to have huge audiences like they did before. This is a real slap for them. This is the reality coming in, isn't it? Hi, gang, says John Cartwright. Hiya, John. RTD doesn't understand English. He cannot tell his anagrams from his portmanteaus. I hope I've said that right, because I don't understand that one either. YW is with us. YW2324 is saying, I love Pyramids of Mars. It's a classic. We do as well. We absolutely love this. I want to say hello to Warflare. Welcome to Whose Views. It's nice to see you with your little wave there. Waving back to you. Hello. What have we got this? Jack is saying to us here, a writer who has to make a short video before and after some episodes to explain why something happened or didn't happen shows he's already failed.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I can't understand that because I don't watch that. What's it called, Paul?
Doctor Who Unleashed.
Right. I don't watch it. So, yes, Jack's right on that one, isn't he? I mean, if you have to go and you're talking to your dedicated audience there as well. I sometimes worry about that dedicated audience and what their expectations are. And maybe, as I said before, maybe that's the reason they thought this one was great because it was just all bang, 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 flash, 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 hollow drama.
I think, as Jack said, I think he's done it almost every episode. He's had to explain some element of the plot just to clarify it, which is really crazy.
It
I was
is,
going to
isn't
say,
it?
yeah, I was going to say, I'm surprised though. We've talked about this a lot about it being scary. Did you think the end bit was scary? I mean, I think if you're about 6, 7, 8, maybe you might find the demon a bit scary, a bit
Probably.
spooky. But did you think it was scary as an ending? Do you think or not?
Personally, I think, in answer to your question, that I think if you are little, I think if you're about 5 or 6 or 7, that will have an imprint on you, just like the original Pyramids of Mars had with us, with the mummies, etc. and stuff. And I think that will, because it had the music in there, it had the build up, it had the revelation, it had all that stuff, as I say, you did with Yana, with the things coming up with Sutek, flashing all over the screen. So I think with the little ones, it did. Being older and wiser and uglier in myself, no, I thought the tension was there, but I didn't think the execution was done properly. And I don't think, again, as I said, I didn't like the way the Gatwa's Doctor reacted. I would have liked to have seen the stern side of the Doctor as he suddenly realized, okay, how? Never mind. I know you. This is serious. Rather than just going,
The trouble, if he did that, because he's been crying for 7 episodes, he can't. That wouldn't really work, I don't think. Because
that's the other reason, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a clip in the trailer for episode 8 of him walking towards the camera in his white T-shirt, looking very stern, right? And I just don't believe it. You know, if he's about to talk to Sutek and tell him off, you've been a naughty boy, it's not going to work. You know,
I agree. That's the problem with humanizing the Doctor as they had done, and him breaking down in tears every 20 minutes all the way through, and then that awful nonsense in Rogue as well, where it was completely un-Doctor-like, not the Doctor at all. I can't believe him. And I just thought, I was thinking last night as well, Tom Baker was terrified of Sutek. The Tom Baker Doctor, the 4th Doctor, was terrified of Sutek, but it was played in the way, I'm still a Time Lord, and this is how I'm going to do it. And it was played with that lovely sort of, no, I'm going to be your equal. Now, that was a classic match, right? Go back and watch it if you have. I mean, I'm sure you've all seen Pyramids of Mars, but if you haven't, go back and watch Pyramids of Mars, because that's how you play against an alien this strong, that, you know, and so powerful, the most destructive being we've ever met in Doctor Who to date. And yet Ncuti, I can't see this, and we'll come back to this next week because I might be wrong. I can't see him having the same gravitas as the 4th Doctor here. No. And I think that will come down to the writing as well.
I don't even think, as the episodes have gone on, that he's actually defeated anything so far. It's been other people doing the work. Yeah.
Thank you to the corner
crying. Yes.
Thank you to the Forbidden Man for saying, I'm so looking forward to the series ending. We've got one more episode to go. And Dividing Dragon, I was in my teens in 1975. I was still terrified of Pyramids of Mars. Steve's reminding of us poor Dr. Warlock. That was the other thing, wasn't it? You know, how they do all that. Paul Holgate is saying to us here, a reset button. Okay. And Digby is saying to you, Paul, excellent point, Paul. Pyramids was made with such restraint that it builds the tension. What else? Graham is saying to us here as well. It was their faceless appearance that scared me back in 75. And Kev, hello, Kev. Glad to see so many people watching and listening. Oh, that's our show. So yes, thank you to everybody that's watching with us here. We really, really appreciate you being with us. If you're not in the chat, come into the chat. Let us know what you think. I'll try and keep up with you. Was out this afternoon, not going to name drop. We were chatting about Doctor Who. A story arc only works when each episode is engaging. And also, when you've got it planned properly. This was 8 episodes rather than the 13 or 14 that we're used to. This story arc, with all the threads, can't possibly work in just 8.
Yeah.
No.
Really can't.
There's also the fact that there's certain episodes are so weak. And one of the things that really bugged me about last week's episode, which maybe didn't bug other people, but it bugged me, was the fact that it's supposed to be about time travel. It's supposed to be, I thought, it was meant to be partially educational, and it was meant to show an era as it was at that time, and that the aliens came into the story and were then in that story, not that they took, I'm going to watch how I say this, but they basically didn't portray that era historically well. They portrayed it very badly.
Yes.
And I was trying to explain that to my kids, who wondered what bothered me about last week's episode so much, regardless of everything else. And I was trying to say to them, look, I don't mind Bridgerton being Bridgerton. I enjoy it. I watch it because it's basically fiction. So that's fine. It can be fiction. I don't care. But this is supposed to be time travel, and it brings me completely out of reality when I'm watching what used to be my favorite show, when the time that they're in is just wrong, completely wrong.
Yeah.
And he's done that so many times now in this season. It's a joke, actually. It's really annoying me now.
No, I get what you're saying, because it's been annoying me. I mean, they've been doing this for a while because apparently that's what the BBC wants them to do, but also because they believe in doing that. Everything is about representation. Everything has to do that. You go back to in time, that has to reflect the 21st century Britain or something like that. It's nonsense, and it's not going to help any kids who are interested in history.
No
wonder they're all blooming deluded and going around with dunce's hats on. Dazis was saying to us here, really didn't like the CGI visuals used for text. Sometimes too much, isn't it, really? And Lucy Jason is saying to us, they treated Gabriel Wolf's voice so much you couldn't tell it was him. Now I'm hoping that's corrected for next week, mate, because
I don't think that's true. You could tell it was him.
I couldn't. I couldn't.
Really?
Yeah, no, I couldn't tell it was him because it was too. I couldn't even. I can't hear him. I wanted it booming. I wanted it down. I am. So I hope they correct that next week. He had more impact for me in the Impossible Planet, in the Satan Pit.
I think the same treatment he's used on his voice for that. So it sounds exactly the same.
Well, I hope it's higher next week, and I hope I can identify him properly, because I just didn't. And he is one of our beloved. He's one of the few actors we've got left from that era. Let's face it. Mark is saying to us here, everybody, I watched the original Pyramids of Mars, and there was a scene where two mummies killed the gardener by crushing him between two mummies. All the other reruns have that scene cut for some reason. Do they?
Yeah.
Wow. That's ridiculous, because that's one of the most horrific things. That should be that. Go and get the physical media. Get the DVD quick. Oh, goodness me. That's shocking. Yeah, and yet in this episode, again, it shows the hypocrisy. They were allowing people to turn to dust and sand.
Yeah.
Different sort of
It's interesting. GT, you were saying you thought that maybe the CGI of Sutek, the dog, isn't Sutek himself. It's like a guard or something.
I would hope
that'd be
so.
interesting. That would be interesting if there's the case. Then you'll get a more humanoid sort of size version of it.
There was a dog in the judgment thing in Egyptian history. It ate the heart of the guy.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it, but yes, that would be good if that was the case, because it would make a lot more sense.
Yeah. Well, I just thought, because I thought that can't be Sutek. That must be a red herring, if you pardon the pun. That must be some sort of lead. This must be the I just don't understand how it's been in the TARDIS for all these decades either. I hope that is actually explained, because these kinds of things don't tend to be. Bobby is saying to us here, RTD mentioned a kind woman character being in it. Does that make Sutek the toxic male? I have a feeling that the kind woman might actually turn out to be Susan, with a turn by Carol Ann Forge. I've just got this little feeling there. We will find out next week. And Mr. Mark says, we know nothing about characters and we don't care. That's a very valid point, isn't it, from Mr. Mark there? Because, it's just assumed we care about these characters. I actually care about Kate, because she's been around for quite a while now. So I've got used to Kate. I like Kate. I would hate to see anything bad happen to the Briggs girl. Yeah, I would generally not like that at all. I can't really care about the rest of them.
She'll get turned into a Cyberman or something, no doubt. But again,
but
the Brigadier.
I think you're right there with that one as well. And Graham is saying to us, the more arcs and twists, the less I see there.
Yeah, I just feel it's been too clever for its own good. It's not clever. It's just thinks it is. He thinks he's amazing.
Yeah. Well, he believes all his press, Joe. I mean, he's got all these people around him kissing his arse. Everybody's telling him he's the best author, the best writer since QAF in 1999. He's had this. He's now a very, very, very powerful man. He's been literally been given the keys to the franchise. It's his franchise now. We've said this before on headlines.
But it's the arrogance of making the second series already. I mean, for the love of God, find out how your new universe is going to take and do what you need to do to save it. But you've basically condemned it because it's not being watched.
Well, allegedly, that was all part of the money as well, because allegedly Disney funded for 24, 26 episodes of the thing. So you've got the 3 Tenant specials included in that, apparently, as well. That's it. So you've got that, plus the Christmas Ruby Road thing. Then you've got the 8 here. You've got the Christmas one that's coming this year. Then you've got the 8 coming left, and you've got 6 or 8 in the special that's going to be coming soon as well. So there it is. That's it. So get it all in the can, get it out. That's it. But now the waiting game comes on, and we'll be here to report about that, about whether or not it goes for 3. So thanks to XSM, the entire 45 minutes was just a guessing game for Doctor Who fans, and I hate it when the show becomes self-aware. It's been self-aware for a long time now, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And David Gulvin, hello, nice to see you here on Who's Views. Pyramids of Mars blows this convoluted mess out the water. Sue Tech equals cringe writing. RTD is a mistake faction. I mean, it was, wasn't it, Ian? That whole thing, Kirsty, that whole Sue Tech thing. I mean, that was just, I was literally crying with laughter. I just thought that is so tacky. And when he turns around and says it's the wrong anagram, it's not even a bloody anagram. There's no K in it.
Yeah.
But really, do you think someone's come from that? Remember the time tunnel was that a time tunnel he was placed in? And he comes back from that, somehow escapes being aged quickly. And he comes back from that. And he sets up Sue Tech. Really?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He goes to try and make money with technology that he's nicked from inside the TARDIS.
It just, I don't know. It's pathetic. Can you imagine that playing out in the 70s with Tom Baker?
No. Because those talents wouldn't have allowed something like that anywhere near. They wouldn't have even thought about this. I mean, you're right. I'll chat her right. Pyramids of Mars. So much better than this thing I watched.
I mean, the whole story was thought out. The way that it was of its era, because I think it was it not set in about the 20s? So it was round about the Tutankhamun obsession, and he even thought about that so well. And it was genuinely really scary and very gothic. And the whole thing
it was well written.
Yes.
And it was script edited.
This is Pyramids of Mars, everybody, by the way, that Ian's talking about.
Yeah, it was script edited by an absolute bloody professional.
Yes.
Robert Holmes knew his stuff. And
who is checking Russell T? Is anyone coming in and reading the script and going,
Yeah, Paul's right. He does allegedly have a script editor. In fact, there is a script editor there on the staff, isn't it? But he's the main guy. And as he has said, and we've proved it on the show by reporting it, he has basically said nobody can stop him.
Yes.
And because
in other words,
around
they're
him,
sucking up, aren't they? They're just saying
They are, but also these people around him won't know Doctor Who. So he's gone into some sort of meeting and said, oh, fabulous, I've had this wonderful, marvellous idea with all this thing. I'm going to bring back Sue Tech. And they've all gone, right, okay. Oh, that's wonderful. That's marvellous.
Yeah.
You know, that's it, isn't it? You know, some of the small amount of fanboys that would have been there would have gone, that's marvelous, let's do that then. Oh my god, I'll go and get my hair dyed blue. But no, he's had that thing, and this is the danger with having the fans running in. And as I said at the top of the show, I'm going to say it again now, I've been dreading this moment. And the whole thing about this particular episode for me is it felt like a bog fanish.
Yeah,
because it just ticked the boxes for certain fans. The fans, ironically, that he's told to get off the show, stop watching us. You're not wanted. We know who he is. We would have had that been built up and been the bigger surprise that it should have been, had it been a better series. Can you imagine if this had been episode 1 rather than Space Babies? And the style for the rest of the series. Can you imagine?
Well, that's it. The tone of the season's all over the place. You know what I mean? It's just.
Yeah, it is.
It really is. But if this had been number 1, why doesn't he just write everything like a finale?
Yeah.
I mean, there's some episodes in this series I'm so embarrassed about. I don't think I'll ever watch again.
I can't watch any of these again.
I actually question whether but yeah, you're right there. I don't know if I ever will go back and watch this, but I don't know.
I can't watch any of this again. Paul is saying to us here, give me some loving. Oh, I was dreading that line. I got the payoff for there. I just thought, problem being is also saying to us here, why does Sutek know who the toy maker even is?
Yeah.
Or any of these Pantheon are? He's been in prison for thousands of years. He was dead though, PB, wasn't he? He was supposed to be dead. And hurtling through time to age to death. Exactly. And why would he bother with something like
was dead?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah, and why would he bother?
He lived another 7,000 years.
Yeah.
He was dead.
It was gone, dead.
We saw the ending of him. That's the problem.
So this is going to be, this has to be a very good reason as to why he's still around, doesn't it, PB? And also the fact is, Sutek the last of the Osirians, this most powerful alien, this most powerful being who is now a god, apparently, would crush the celestial toy maker like that. And the same for the drag queen, quicker, that. You know, it wouldn't have any tolerance. The gods of Ragnarok, that. Because he's bigger than them, he's arrogant, and all he wants is death around him, destruction around him. He doesn't want any life around him. He's not going to go put them into a club and give them a badge, is he?
I mean, they should at least have someone going around with a little dustpan and brush, gathering up the dust that was left in the time tunnel and pouring something onto it to bring him back, at the very least.
Like Dracula, you mean? Yeah, that kind of idea. Exactly. Yeah. The interesting thing about the ending of Sutekh in Promise of Mars, if he was aged to death through the time tunnel, I reckon this is a prediction of mine. This time window will be the resolution of the next episode. That's what's going to happen to Sutekh. I've not. This is pure speculation. It's not a spoiler, but I bet that's what they do, because that's exactly what they did in Promise of Mars.
You've just reminded me of the other Doctor moment I felt. I saw a glimpse of the Doctor moment. Richard is saying to us here, the Doctor will defeat Sutekh with tears and twerking. I'm sure he will, to be honest, or some sort of nonsense. And you would need a machete, says Domgo, to script edit RTD stuff. No, Terrified Monk is saying, didn't Hartnell say, give me some loving every week?
Yeah.
Every week. No, but what was I saying? Yeah, the other that you've just reminded me, Paul, about the other element where I did see a glimpse of the Doctor, a glimpse, and again, it wasn't played the way I would have played it or expect an actor to play it. Is when Kate is denying the existence of the time window, and the Doctor is saying, "Have you got this?" Or I can't remember the line. Have you got this? And she's going, "No. You told us in the 70s. No, we can't do that. Have you got this? No. Have you got this?" It's downstairs.
Yeah.
That's a comedy moment, and I don't think it was played the way I would expect the Doctor to do it, because he's trying to be patient with them. But I think he would have had more of a sort of look at her to be able to say, I'm nitpicking. I know I'm nitpicking. But that was that should have been a Doctor quality moment.
When the Doctor saw the time window, it made me laugh, I think. When he did that.
Jordan. Sorry, I know, darling. I know. I'm only having a laugh. You know that. You know I love you. Sorry, go on, Paul.
That when he was laughing at the technology of the time window, that was quite a fun moment. I quite like that when he laughed, how rubbish it was. That was quite nice.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go on, Kirsty. Go on.
The British public, because I'm new to a time window, the British public are paying for nuclear energy from that. Cost of living crisis much? Like,
well, that wouldn't bother with them there, would it? It's a good point. I bet you that comes up in the next series.
Units in a big massive tower, like it's a walking target, and the Prime Minister doesn't even know, is not really allowed onto deck, and you're using nuclear energy. I don't know if I'm just being a simpleton. I didn't understand that. Where's the money coming from, and why are we paying for it if it's
definitely needed to be a bunker.
Yeah, well, the whole thing there about the Prime Minister as well, and that's what Doctor Who does actually. And in this version of Doctor Who, it does occasionally mention the Prime Minister, and it's all sort of tongue in cheek, hasn't it? It has been since that Aliens of London thing. It was picked up by some of the press. Let's go to one of the reviews today. I don't know if it's in this one or not, but let's go to one of the reviews today. This is from N Gadget. Doctor Who: The Legend of Ruby Sunday review. What legend? The series Big Bad is ... Yes, bear with me with this. Here's the full context of this. It's a bit of a reading, but here we go. In an episode full of misdirection, the biggest one has to be its title, given we've learned very little about what Ruby Sunday's legend actually is. Instead, the first part of the series' two-part finale is essentially an hour to build a sense of dread that spills over into its final moments. I could cheat and say the legend of Ruby Sunday is just Army of Ghosts, the first half of the 2006 season's finale, with a bigger budget. Except the big bad that reveals itself at the end is a villain from a far deeper cut than the usual corners of Doctor Who's history. Okay, then it goes into the thing about, we'll miss that because we all know what the story was about. There's the matter of Ruby's parentage to uncover, giving the Doctor a reason not just to confront Triad. The Doctor, Ruby and Unit Soldier enter the time window, low-grade holodeck, that's what we were saying, wasn't it? To try and see who left Ruby on the steps of the church. But the history's a bit wonky, and Ruby's faceless mother, unlike what we saw in the church on Ruby Road, turns and ominously points toward the TARDIS. This is obviously a good reviewer, because this person's obviously gone back and watched it again, because I don't know what happened there at all. Not long after, the TARDIS is engulfed in a black cloud of swirling evil that nobody's sure what to do about. Okay. The Doctor then meets Triad just before she gets on stage, prompting her to remember all her other selves. Whenever Triad dreams, she's somehow aware of those myriad of alternate selves. And while she takes to the stage, the Doctor asks the team at Unit HQ to scan the TARDIS. It is similarly engulfed in an invisible cloud of malevolent stuff that's threatening everyone in the area. Aside, this is the second time in 4 years that Doctor Who has tried to parody an Apple keynote. And this is the second time that they've totally misunderstood how to stage one that looks even remotely evocative of what they're parodying. I know the conventions of the tech keynote have mutated since the Steve Jobs era, but they're not even trying. Goes back to talking about a unit staffer, Harriet Arbinger, H. Arbinger, starts muttering about a dark prophecy while Triad goes off script. The Doctor, standing close by, watches as she turns into a skeleton monster while the TARDIS is menaced by a giant animal head surrounded by the Egyptian iconography. It turns out Susan isn't the Doctor's granddaughter or even a key component of the story, but an innocent who has been co-opted by Sutekh, an all-powerful Egyptian god we first saw in 1975's Pyramids of Mars. Cue the credits. It's a slender synopsis, mostly because the scenes are played slowly as the tension ratchets up. The legend of Ruby Sunday takes its time, letting the screw turn gently until you're almost happy when the big reveal happens. It's a gripping ride on a first watch, although I imagine it'll not have too much value when you go back to it a third or fourth time. But then again, that's often been an issue with episodes penned by RTD. It's also a good way to juice bookings for next week's finale, which will get a UK cinema release on June the 21st. Was it easy to guess that we'd be getting Sutekh back after his one outing in Pyramids of Mars? The rumour mill certainly pulled in that direction over the last month or so, and it's not as if we didn't get a clue or two along the way. Longtime Davies fans will recall that Vince watches the Part 1 cliffhanger at the end of the first episode of Queer as Folk, and we've already had a whole scene from Pyramids of Mars lifted that jumped into a ruined future in the Devil's Chord. If you are unfamiliar, Pyramids of Mars is a classic and another blockbuster from the pen of the series' best 20th century writer, Robert Holmes. At the time, Holmes was the series script editor, had commissioned the story from writer Louis Griefer, but Griefer's material was so poor, Holmes and producer Philip Hinchcliffe decided a replacement was needed. So Holmes was tasked with writing a whole new episode in a tiny amount of time. The finished episode was created to pseudonym Stephen Harris, but it's all Holmes under the hood. Sadly, because of various rules around writing credits, the Legend of Ruby Sunday end credits actually give credit to Louis Griefer as Sutekh's creator and omit Holmes, which feels pretty rough. But that one minor injustice aside, let's bring on the finale. So that was from Engadget, and that was written by Daniel Cooper, the senior editor.
Do you think they're a fan, or they just Google that? You think?
It sounds like a fan to me to have that sort of feel.
And a knowledge of what they're talking about. That actually sounds like they've done their homework and they know what they're talking about. So, but I'd rather watch Army of Ghosts or season 2 finale again and again than this.
Yeah.
I'm just desensitized
But
to it now.
again, just look at Pyramids of Mars, written by Robert Holmes, script edited by Robert Holmes, absolute genius on screen. This, written by Russell T Davies, script edited by nobody because they've not got the balls. Bullshit.
You can't really, and we shouldn't do. We can't really compare this to Pyramids of Mars, but we will, of course, because it's going to be a direct sequel. Let's face it, this is how it works. This is going to be a direct sequel. But I've got this terrible feeling, just from experience of watching these sort of scripts, that next week's will be rushed. It's 55 minutes again next week.
He's got to expose who Ruby Sunday's mother is, though, hasn't he?
Does he?
Not necessarily, no.
Maybe not.
Might not.
I thought he was going to do something cheap, like make it Susan or something.
Well, yeah, but he might keep that going into the threads for next year. It might come.
Oh, please, God, no.
Yeah.
It could
definitely be something cheap.
It could be, and we're speculating here, but it could be that Ruby actually temporarily leaves the TARDIS in next week's episode down to trauma or something like that. Her mother is around, for example, or was for around. Maybe she does leave that because maybe there's somebody else coming in for Christmas, like sometimes they do, and maybe she joins in 2 or 3 in the new series. You know,
I think though she might be traumatized because her granny's beaten by Mrs. Flood. But there we go.
There's another sideline. What was going on there? Because we had that whole.
There's more talks of Mrs. Flood that she's online. There's more talks at Mrs. Flood's Susan, and if that's true, I'll live stream me flipping tables, WWE style, because that would just be daft. But Anita Dobson could be in season 2 as well. So who knows?
A lot of chat coming through. Thank you, everybody. Sorry, Ian, go on.
I never said anything.
Oh, sorry. I thought I was going to say that.
All roads lead down to it being Anita Dobson being Susan, but there's also talks today started that she's going to be the Master, but that would just be too...
Oh, that's just fan nonsense. That's just ridiculous.
Fan nonsense.
Although you'd have thought Sutek was fan nonsense if you'd heard this a few months ago.
No, yeah, but do you know what? No, he's not going to bring two in the same place, is he? I mean, what if he does? That's just stupid.
Like,
I suppose anything's available in this very series, but I don't like listening to what fan speculation is because it's all fan wank. It's wish. And unfortunately, we now have a production team that listens to that. Oh, we'll bring Sutek back, or we'll bring this back, or we'll make him a woman, or we'll do this, or we'll do that. Stop
and the problem is,
like
fans are not, most fans are not writers, you know.
Most fans are not even fans. They've been there since, I don't know, since bloody Matt Smith.
Well, I'm quite impressed that Gabriel Wolf came back to do the voice. They didn't get Miriam Margolyes to do it instead. You know what I mean?
Can you imagine the uproar though? From a certain, I mean, that would be a massive disrespect. If you've got a wonderful talent with that gorgeous voice like him, you get him in. I mean, they used him for the Satan Pit and the Impossible Planet, didn't they? As I mentioned before, why not use him again? But you know, you couldn't really do that at all. Listen, I want to say thank you to everybody that's joining us in the chats. It's great to see you all. I will try and keep up with you. But what we've got here going on, let's have a look there. Resvit, nice to see you. Have I got that right? I disagree. Well, that's fine. Nice, that's absolutely fine. And what do you mean by a tryhard? Is that youth speak? Please explain yourself, because I don't understand what that means. But welcome, and come and have a go if you're hard enough. Absolutely. Dagsby is saying to us here as well. Oh no, that's just Jordan. As long as he doesn't bi-generate again to deal with another god. The chat is going so quickly. Dagsby is saying to us, you don't have to watch classic.
No, you don't.
No, you don't. You don't absolutely have to be. But if they're going to bring stuff back from the original era, you have to. There's a sort of expectation from them, I feel, that you know who this is.
That's the thing, though, because they are already preempting that with this Tales of the TARDIS nonsense, which they're going to do an episode, I think, is based around looking back at Pyramids of Mars and what I understand, with Ncuti telling Ruby about the adventures with Sutek prior to this. So if they need to do that in Tales from the TARDIS, they're already kind of, having to explain stuff to a new audience, but it seems really daft.
Yeah. Chris is saying to us, Christopher Manassi is saying, I still don't understand why he thought this Susan was his granddaughter, because they both share the same first name. I know.
Yeah.
I don't get it at all, because
very tenuous,
what's it about?
Yeah,
very tenuous.
Why is he going back now?
What?
Why is he just going back now? Why is he thinking about her now? He could have gone back ages ago to check up on her or see her, or we could have done a story about this. Why now? It's just destroying. Again, it's just another thing.
It's part of the de-aliening of the Doctor. I mean, here he is. Russell's been given this character, which he is now humanizing. He's made him an orphan, and he's playing on that. He also has a granddaughter there, so he has a family, and it wouldn't start to surprise me if he starts going down, ignoring the title of the show, which is Doctor Who. And I'm very, I wouldn't be surprised if he now starts to say, oh, this is his daughter coming in now, or this is happening, and giving away more of those history, because isn't there a line in this from Gatwa's Doctor that basically says he's trying, I was an enigma back then, and I'm trying not to be.
Yeah, I was a different Doctor back then, and what was all that about? Yeah,
there's your warning.
Yeah. He was telling Ruby about is a Time Lord and what being a Time Lord can do and how they can change and everything else. But I thought it was established during Chinballs' era that he's not a bloody Time Lord.
Yeah.
Oh, and he keeps going on about the last of the Time Lords constantly. It's incredible.
Yeah. Oh, that's so disappointing, because surely the whole twist could be that there could be something else out there. Something else could happen. I feel when they got rid of Gallifrey, they just destroyed part of the whole show for me. I didn't like that at all.
I'm confused with all that now as well, because of course I don't watch. I didn't watch any of that, but I can't be done with it all. This is where it's got so messy over the last few years of the modern era. It used to be so easy. I've said this before, if you look at the 7 years of Tom's 7 mighty years, hardly any references or continuity in it at all. And that's why it was magical, because it just moved forward naturally. Now they have to throw in the kitchen sink every 20 minutes.
Yeah, and plus the fact, as a child, you could come into Doctor Who at any point. I mean, I didn't start watching till the early 70s. So that would be the Pertwee era. And I came in and started watching then and watched with my family then. And then it would often just be me watching it. But you didn't need to have the backstory. I mean, I read about it much later, and I read a lot of the Target, so I did know the whole backstory. But until they started getting released in DVD, I never saw any of the backstory.
Yeah. And again, you know, they have it. Anyone new to the show now, fabulous. But they're coming into such a convoluted mess. Now, why talk down to another? Well, they do it all the time. But if you are new to a fan now, you'll be sort of aware, especially in Britain, about what Doctor Who is. It's so much easier for the new fans now of any age. I'm not talking just the kids. I'm talking about 30, 40, 50, 60-year-olds that might come into this. They can get access to the old episodes so much easier than we all did. We had to go through years of not seeing any really repeats. We had to go through years of not having anything. Then we went through 20 years of collecting the VHSs. Then we went through 20 years of collecting the DVDs. Now you get them at a drop of a hat.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the one brilliant thing Russell and his team have done by insisting everything goes on the iPlayer. So this Whoniverse thing is there. I love that. But, you know, it's a case now of, as again, if you're a new viewer and you've come in tonight saying, I'll just watch this, you're going to go, aren't you? Because who's this and what's this and what's... Just my opinion on this. Adrian is saying to us here as well, I'll never watch this season again. Paul Richards is saying to us, Capaldi would have worked better with Susan, but Susan with Gatwa is so off.
Yeah.
Resbit is back with us saying the Timeless Child was horrid.
Yeah.
And Steve is saying to us here, Paul Ashworth, I'm sure the gods of Ragnarok were mentioned in the Harriet Arbinger Spiel. Oh, were they? I don't remember. I was sort of listening to try and get the build up to that, because I thought I've got this, you know. I felt this before. I've been here before, and it was only after the episode that I thought, oh yes, it was the Yana thing, and he was trying to recreate it with the Masters back. Didn't have the same payoff, in my opinion. And Richard is saying to us here, Susan will turn up at the end. There's always a twist at the end. Oh yes, very clever. Yeah.
As long as she doesn't sing. I'm sure Callum Ford's got a beautiful singing voice, but please don't sing. Yeah.
Well, it won't be. It'll be Susan Twist there, won't it? It's not going to be Carol Ann. That's the thing. That's the other thing as a fanboy. Hello, Doug. Nice to see you. Doug Sims is joining us late to the party. I did half expect Thriller to play in the final scene when they danced, but we got our Susan Twist at the end. Yeah, I know what you mean about that one, Doug. Nice to see you, mate. It has, for me, as the sad fanboy I have, actually confirmed now through that, possibly, that Susan is a Time Lord, because that was never, ever, ever confirmed in the original 26-year run. Yeah. You know, I've always thought of her as a Gallifreyan. And it turns out that, according to Russell T. Davis, she is a Time Lord and she has the ability to regenerate. So, being the sad fan that I am, she must have got through the academy pretty quickly and been given the details of regeneration, you know, and all that sort of stuff, because Gallifreyans are not Time Lords, are they?
No.
Yeah. No. So that's my point. You guys don't. You know, not interested in that bit, are you?
So if she were in Unearthly Child, she was 15 apparently, but that in like dog years is 150 in Time Lord years or something like that.
She would have been possibly slightly younger than Romana.
Right.
And Romana was one of the youngest graduates from the academy. Let's remember. I'm going through the chats here, everybody, as well. Wellesley Weston investigates. Nice to see you. Hi, everyone. Yes, if you need to check something now, just go into the iPlayer. And YW2324 is saying, bring back Harriet Jones. Just kidding. But she was great, though. They bumped her off, didn't they? I want to say huge thank you. And thank you for joining us here at Who's Views to Astronomical One, who's given us $5. Thank you so much for that. This is wonderful. And what he's saying to us, it's dead. But can each one of you can say one redeeming quality of this show? Hashtag RIP Doctor Who. Can we say a redeeming quality? The production value is very good.
Yeah.
I've said it before on these shows, Astronomical. The people working on this version of the show behind the scenes in all aspects of the department are bloody good. They are bloody good. And I'm so sorry they're getting, as Tom would say, whippet ship scripts, but they're good.
One redeeming thing is I like the logo at the start of the title.
But it's another rip-off.
I know,
Yeah,
I know,
Millie,
and it's not worthy of the logo either. Okay,
No.
somebody else. Let's earn our money that Astronomical's given here. Give a couple more. Kirsty, you give yours. What's your redeeming quality?
Millie Gibson.
Oh,
She's
good
carrying-
call.
yeah,
she's got-
yeah.
Yes.
She's got backache. She has
Yes.
got backache for carrying this season. And
Good call.
you know, I'm sad if she's only going to be in a couple of episodes next season, because she, maybe with like Matt or even with Peter, she could have done so good. And yeah. If they'd done some stories like how what Amy had with Millie, she would have been able to chomp that with a bit. She's got a future ahead of her once she gets out of this. But yeah, she's carrying it, as the kids would say. She's got backache from carrying this. Totally. She's my redeeming
Good call, that
quality.
one. Yeah, she has been a revelation, because I didn't know her from Corrie beforehand. I only know that from that Children in Need or wherever it was reveal. But she's been cracking, hasn't she? All right, somebody else give us a redeeming quality.
Okay, here's one for Astronomical one. I would agree with Kirsty, but since you've said Millie, I'm going to say the pub scene, which was very American Werewolf in London.
Yeah.
Oh, from 73 yards.
Yes, I liked the pub scene.
Okay.
It just didn't quite, it didn't have long enough, but that's been the feature of this entire series. He just whips from one thing to another because that's what he thinks he should do to make it engaging.
Yeah. Ian, have you got a redeeming quality?
Well, not surprisingly, this person said exactly what I was going to say about with the bloody logo. So thanks for that, mate.
Sorry about that. Yeah. So.
I think the fact that, and this might sound simplistic or a bit of a no-brainer, but I don't think in this era it is. The fact that as of yet, they have kept unchanged the exterior police box.
Yes.
The police box and police are problematic, especially in this PC woke, very, very, very left-wing BBC.
Yeah.
The police box is very problematic.
The police aren't helping themselves, though. Let's put
no,
the balance.
admittedly,
It's some of our counties and regions, they're not helping themselves. Let's just put it out there. Sorry,
absolutely, 100%. But do I think they'll change it? I think at some point they probably will. But at the moment they haven't. So the fact that it has that anchor point of that one piece of familiarity, astronomical one, I would say the police box for now.
Ian,
fantastic.
But great question. Great question.
Can I just add another one there as well? I'm going to say astronomical Bonnie, because I do love Bonnie, and I am delighted to see her back in this, getting more screen time and more character development as Mel, even though I think she was criminally underused yet again in last night's episode. So go on, Kirsty.
Ian, can I just say I'm very proud of you for not dropping any bombs there.
Yes, well done. Well done. Well done.
I'm actually very proud.
So hopefully, astronomical, that has answered your question there. So thank you for that, and lovely to see you. Welcome to Who's Views, and thank you so much for investing in us. I really appreciate that. That is lovely. We've got Daz Blue saying redeeming qualities. There's only 8 episodes, and Digby, our mate Digby Strawberry here has given us £5. Thank you so much for that, mate. We really do appreciate it. Thank goodness this series is only 8 episodes.
Yep. It's the final countdown.
You know what, though? I know what we're saying, and we've been getting gradually, or I'll speak for myself here, been gradually getting more tired and more tired and more tired. And it's come to something now where I'd rather watch that show where that young man, Mr. Cunningham, is traveling the United Kingdom on his barge. I'd rather watch that than this, my beloved Doctor Who. But I'm actually going to say, Digby, had it been maybe 10 or even 12, he might have been able to flesh out these bloody arcs a little bit more, and to show us those missing episodes as well with those other characters there, and build that up. But there's pros and cons to this as well, isn't there? So thank you so much, Digby, for that. Really, really appreciate it. We've got a lot of you in the chat tonight. I'll speak for myself and the guys. Actually, absolutely thrilled to have you all here with us. Thank you so much. Now, if you are new to Who's Views with us here, some of you will be, we do this little thing. We have a little piece of development every week here we've got the ratings game, which we're going to be coming to in just a couple of minutes. But we've also got this other little thing, which is a very clever bit of AI that my uncle Sydney built for me. It's over there in the corner, stuck together with sticky back plastic and lots of rubber bands. It's very, very expensive. It's called the Wokeometer. And every week we type into the Wokeometer and ask it to judge it out of 10, how it thought or what it thought of this episode and how woke in its fabulously supreme way it was. And that's what we're going to go to right now. It is time for the Wokeometer. Are you all ready for this Hootastic panel?
Yes, we are. Yes.
Yes.
Right, great. Now, last week, if you remember rightly, for Rogue, it went off the scale. First time it went off the scale. It's usually out of 10. It went off the scale. We have tarted it all up. We put some more sticky back plastic on. It's got little rubber ducks on it and little mice. I'm not telling you which mouse. Are you ready, Uncle Sydney? Are you ready with this? Yes, crank it up. Put the butterbean whip in it. There we go. Butterscotch Angel Delight is all in there as well. Here we go then, everybody. We are cranking this up out of 10. Let's see what the Wokeometer thinks this episode is about, and then we'll have a chat about it. Hit the button. All out of 10. Don't forget how woke was this episode. It's a 6. A 6 out of 10, the Wokeometer is saying there. And that's because I think, it wasn't, there were messages in there. There were messages. There were certain elements into there. But it wasn't pushed as much, was it?
Yeah, he never kissed Sutek, did he, to be honest? So.
There's still time.
Yeah. I think 6 out of 10 is very generous there, Wokeometer. Thanks, Uncle Sydney. No, that's fine. I think that's very generous for this. Let's see what happens with that next week. Will it go off the scale again? What's going to happen? But there were elements. I mean, we've talked about the certain characters and stuff. They are there just for a reason. There were certain things that were said there just to make that. But this was actually calm, I thought. Calmer than I've known him to be for a little while. I wonder if he wrote this when he was sort of like on a Sunday afternoon type feel. Do you know what I'm saying, guys?
Yeah, well maybe there was rewrites, perhaps,
I doubt it. I don't think there would have been on that one, but no. Gosh, there we go. Thank you for everything you've put there as well. Thank you very much, everybody. We are now going to come to this part of the show. Okay, where we're at now. This is the ratings game. This is where I ask everybody on the Hootastic panel to guess about the ratings for next week. Next week is, of course, the big end of season finale, part 2 of this particular story that we're talking about now. It's called Empire of Death. And that's probably more dramatic than the episode. Anyway, so we're going to get on with this. Now, bearing in mind where we are tonight, where we are today, the Legend of the Ruby Slippers got 2.02, everybody. 2.02. Let's see where we're going to go to. I'm going to start, Jodie, we're going to start with you.
Okay.
What are you
I'm going to go for 2.1.
Ooh.
Just because I think some people might have heard that it was a bit better.
Oh, really? Okay, so 2.1 from Jodie. Lady of the chat, Kirsty, what is your rating game overnight score for next week?
I'm going to go with my fellow lady and go 2.1 as well, because girls get it done.
All girls together, Girls Aloud Spice Girls. 2.1 from Kirsty as well. Let's make a note of that. I'm going to go to Paul now. So, Paul, you are, of course, now famous for getting this wrong consistently.
Yes, well, I may as well just have a stab in the dark as normal, yeah.
So why don't you do that?
Which is what Russell T Davis should get, really, isn't it?
I'm going to say 1.9, push it up a bit from last time.
Paul is copying my score of 1.9. Make a note of that. Desperate. Copying. And third Doctor, Ian, Your guess for the overnight score for Empire of Death, please.
Well, Paul's a sod again, so I'm going to say 1.95.
Sorry, Ian.
Absolute. I think it'll break the 3 barrier this time. I think people have checked out. I don't think "ooh, that was better" will bring people back. I think they've gone.
The doctor is saying people have gone. He's not really expecting any sort of rise. And he's saying 1.95. Let's go and have a look in the chat. And thank you very much to Doug for giving us $5 there, 5 Aussie dollars. Thank you so much. Putting this towards therapy for the team, because I know this hasn't been easy. Thank you so much for that, Doug, and it's always great to have you with us. We do really appreciate that. Thank you so much. But yes, I think we are going to be there. Oh, goodness me. What else have we got? Have we got? Who is Mrs. Flood? Says Grant G, who is now joining us. Nice pussy.
Who cares?
It's all coming out now.
Cackle, wasn't it there?
Are you being served, man?
I love it.
Let's have a look here.
Oh, God, I think he's gone for the Amagram thing again, hasn't he?
What's this? For
The
Mrs.
Rani,
Flood?
Rain. Mrs. Flood. That's only just struck it. Probably that's been in fandom forever.
Possibly. Where'd you get that from?
I just thought about it.
Oh, okay.
You remember, if it's someone left over from the pet weir, it'll be the lady from Green Death who sees the maggots in the tube. It'll be her. The cleaning lady,
thought-
you know.
But, I
It'll
mean,
be Sam
Stephanie
Seeley's
Beacham,
wife
I mean-
from Spearhead.
Yeah,
Meg.
with a shotgun. Yeah.
Hello and welcome back to Libro.
His dog, Sam.
Libro Paradiso is joining us again here. Nice to see you. I'm prepared to see a finale with a Rocky Horror time warp and Grease's We Will Always Be Together musical dance routine.
That's an insult
If
to
it
two
happens-
great movies.
If that happens, Libro Paradiso, you're getting the blame because it could actually happen this season, couldn't it? But thank you for joining us
Yeah,
for that
don't
one.
give them ideas.
That'd make Gatwa look masculine, wouldn't it? Really? I mean,
Yeah. Melanie Weston Investigates is saying it's going to get is that 7 million? No, it can't be really, can it?
No, the will call my tech.
Oh, the will comments.
the-
Oh, that's all the
yeah.
will comments. Oh, see, my chat is slower than all of yours. Let's have a look. Yes, you were given lots for this will commenter there, weren't you? Fantastic. Thank you for that. Let's go down to that. Adam is saying flood means rain. And then you're probably right, though. Rain, Rani, I get it now. I see where you're getting that from.
That took me a long time to think that out.
Hmm. Oh,
Or
yeah,
if,
it could be
if it's
actually.
rain, it'll be River Song then, will it? Oh, God.
Oh, God.
And Derek Hart is saying JNT all is forgiven. Oh, God bless him. God
Yeah.
bless him. Raymond is saying to us here, thank you, Raymond. 2.2, he's saying. And welcome to Whose Views, to Dr. Whomst 64. Am I the only one in the chat who has consistently enjoyed the entire season?
No.
Chat, if
Possibly.
you can answer him. Yeah,
I think there's a couple of others.
I think so, and I hope so. I do hope so.
I can maybe grasp all of that apart from Space Babies, which will forever be an abomination.
Yeah, I mean, as we've reviewed this, we have had inconsistencies with people being up and down and up and down. Scores on the TARDIS doors coming up towards the end of the show will tell you that one as well, mate. 2.4 from Derek. Richard is saying to us 2.1 because it's the last episode of the series. Can you imagine when we were all saying it's going to get 10 million, 11 million?
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
we're going for this.
And it
Domgo.
did.
And it did, yeah. Domgo, 1.9999999 million. Aaron is also saying 1.9, so thank you for that. Graham is saying 2.0. And you only get a new with Typhoo, says Steve Black. Absolutely. You also got those gorgeous, beautiful cards. Remember those, everybody, back in the day? Happy days.
Yeah.
And Astronomical's back with us, giving us now $20. Thank you so much for that. Wow. This were the paid therapy fund, as the NHS has a long waiting list. I think we should scrap this season and retcon everything back to the flux side note. England 1, Serbia 0. 0-0. Thank you so much, Astronomical, for your $20. We do appreciate this. This is all new to us, so we're getting used to this. So thank you so much. But that's really funny. Retcon everything back to the flux side. A lot of people are saying that these days, aren't we? I didn't even watch all of that, but I don't know what it was. And Rose mentioned you at the top of the show. Thank you for joining us, and nice to see you. Thank you for your message on Friday. Season finale, possibly 3.2, because it's at the cinema on the 21st. I wonder if they're actually worried now about the fact that they're going to the cinema now, driving people out from the overnights on BBC One. I mean, that was a bit of a stupid thing to do. They should have put it on weeks later, shouldn't they, in the summer or something?
Yeah.
Could it be even more embarrassing if the cinemas are empty?
Yeah.
Can I ask a request? If anyone watching this is going to the cinema, can you take a photograph of the auditorium before it starts out of interest to see if people are there?
Absolutely.
That'd be lovely. Yeah.
We do have a couple going to see it, and Simon, are you in the chat? Simon's going to see it. Simon L is going to see it at the picture. He said he was going to send us some photographs in, which we'll talk about. So thank you for that, Simon. But yeah, do let us know. You can get in touch with us at whosviews1@gmail.com. Send them in. Okay. I'm going to cut the ratings game there. We've got that. Obviously, we're going to come back to the ratings game next week as we find out who got it right and who got it wrong. How low can you go? Back to Greece, basically. And we are not finished yet, because we've got more to come, so stick with us. Thank you so much for joining us. It's absolutely wonderful to see you. Let's have a look at another review that came out today, everybody. This is from The Independent. I want to know what you all make of this. Doctor Who, The Legend of Ruby Sunday review. Theresa May's awkward dance enters the Whoniverse. 3 out of 5. Yet again, a 3 out of 5. This hokey OTT episode, which references Elon Musk and the former PM, could go down well with hardcore Whovians. But will it alienate Gen Z? This is written by Ed Power. Let's get into this one right now. Who'd be a showrunner for the BBC's biggest global franchise? While giving every appearance of enjoying his return to the control room of the TARDIS, Russell T Davies has nonetheless admitted viewing figures for the latest season of Doctor Who are lower than anticipated. They may not be the ratings we'd love. We always want higher, he said, before pointing out that streaming audiences were steadily building. Hardcore Whovians are undoubtedly divided about the debut series of the 14th Doctor. Shooty Gatwa, and it doesn't help that the year opened with perhaps its weakest storyline, the twee intergalactic toddler versus snot monster episode, Space Babies. But there's been lots to love since, and Who has been building at a pace toward its 2-part finale, which began with an installment 7, The Legend of Ruby Sunday. The episode digs deep into Whovian lore by bringing back a baddie first encountered in the mid-1970s. That's your final spoiler warning. Yes, let's warmly welcome Sutekh the Destroyer, the Egyptian avatar of death, with whom the 4th Doctor, Tom Baker, tangled in the beloved Pyramids of Mars. The episode digs deep into Whovian... Oh, sorry, I've written that. But in the final reveal of Sutekh is fun and sets up a potentially thrilling finale. The journey there is convoluted and overstuffed. Not only is the show rewinding to 1975, it is also going back, in spirit at least, to the perpetually baffling Chris Chibnall, Jodie Whittaker era, which curve pulls were bunged in just for the sake of it, and the plot fell apart in the clear light of multiple re-watchings. The Legend of Ruby Sunday is nowhere near as brain-shredding as Prime Chibnall. Nonetheless, it does bump along a bit, and when the Egyptian dust has settled, it's up for debate whether the previous 6 episodes adequately teased the arrival of Sutekh. All of the attention ahead of the penultimate helping of Who has been on the silver-haired character played by Susan Twist, who we've seen pop up in multiple guises. The Orwellian space mum in Dot and Bubble, the killer ambulance, AI in Boom. We meet her again as the Doctor and Ruby take the TARDIS to Unit HQ in central London, where the Doctor tells Kate Lethbridge-Stewart and the gang that he needs help working out why Twist's character keeps cropping up. And if there's a connection to the origin story of Ruby, abandoned as a foundling on those church steps since December 2004. The first mystery is easily solved. The unit crew immediately recognize Twist's protagonist. She is Susan Triad, a tech mogul seemingly inspired equally by Elon Musk and Theresa May. An awkward dance she does before giving a bid speech is 100% May as pratfalling PM. The Doctor has a brainwave, S-Triad. It's an anagram of TARDIS. Well, duh, say Kate and the gang. They've already worked that out and have sent Bonnie Langford's Mel behind enemy lines, posing as Triad's publicist. The first mystery is... oh, sorry, goodness me, what am I doing with that? The Doctor has another surprise. Susan is also the name of his granddaughter. Hold up, says an understandably perplexed Ruby. The Doctor has a granddaughter? Yes, long-time Whovians will yell at the telly. Susan Foreman was both the Doctor's original companion and granddaughter. The Doctor adds that he doesn't actually have a daughter. Not yet, anyway. That's time travel for you. Always putting one thing before the other. Kate and her pals have a shock in return. They have expected Susan Triad to be a conventionally megalomaniac trying to take over humanity. It turns out she's really nice. So that's quite fun, that bit there. It goes on to say, will she stay that way after her upcoming address to the United Nations, at which she will unveil a new technology that promises to change the whole world? No time to dwell on that. The Doctor sends Ruby home to fetch a grainy CCTV tape of the night which she was abandoned from that church. Thanks to a holodeck from Star Trek-style device at Unit, they used the video to recreate that fateful evening. This is where things go off the rails, both for the Doctor and, alas, for Davis's script. Down in Unit's time window, the magical snow that has been following Ruby about falls once again. Unit then turn on their time-hopping window, and presto, the Doctor and Ruby are back at that church in 2004, and lo, there is a mysterious hooded figure, Ruby's mother. But her image glitches, suggesting something is amiss. Never mind, says a chirpy soldier who has come along to help. He goes to investigate, only to disappear behind the TARDIS that the 2004 version of the Doctor used to travel to the location in the Christmas special. Like I said, this is confusing. Seeing her mother shuffle away from the doorstep where she abandoned her daughter is obviously upsetting for Ruby, especially given that the parent she never knew is kitted out like the hooded Black Rider from the Lord of the Rings. No time for tears, however. A huge, scary CGI something has just manifested. Oh, and that nice soldier is still missing. Then we hear his voice as he chirps in, I'm in hell. No, not a Ticketmaster queue for the Coldplay concert. He's been snatched away somewhere dark and deep. Next, a huge, frightening Marvel movie-style energy pulse causes the time window to short circuit. With that, the Doctor decides enough is enough. The moment has come for him to confront Susan, and off he goes while the unit team investigates Ruby's VHS tape, which now includes footage of that swirling hell cloud. Only it isn't merely a cloud. It's a hell cloud concealing a second TARDIS from back in 2004. In the meantime, the Doctor tries to gate crash Susan Triad's big speech, which she is delivering remotely to the UN. She is approachable and reveals that she's been struggling to sleep. The Doctor asks if she's dreamed of the various planets we've seen in previous episodes. The look on her face confirms that this is indeed so. Shaken by the exchange, she steps before the teleprompter and begins her speech, only for a scary, big, bad voice to mimic her through the speakers. There's lots of scariness at Unit 2. A black evil TARDIS has manifested, and we learn that a minor character, introduced as Harriet, is Harriet Harbinger, also known as Harbinger, also known as an advance party for whomever or whatever is coming. The Doctor has cracked it. Susan Triad doesn't mean TARDIS, it stands for Sutek, if you squint and scramble the letters slightly. True to the prediction, Sutek, the big dragon-type beastie, materializes before the TARDIS. I am god of death, all shall perish, he announces optimistically. Meanwhile, Susan Moore, a mummy-type nasty with blank eyes and sunken features. She turns her PA to dust. It was either that or pay him a living wage, and then faces the Doctor. Did you think I was family, Doctor? She says mockingly. I bring Sutek's gift of death. Hokey cackling over the top. These are the values Doctor Who stands for, and it's great to see the show go all vintage and 1970s. But you wonder if Davis isn't contradicting previous statements to the effect that the BBC rehired him to bring in an under-30 audience. Will younger viewers care about a Whovian hoodlum dating back to the Tom Baker era? All will be revealed when the ratings come out. Da, da, da. Until they do, the ongoing worry for the BBC is that in swerving from space babies to Baker vintage monsters, Doctor Who is trapped in a vortex of its own making. Okay,
a dragon?
Wow.
Okay, what are your reactions?
Well, he described it as a dragon. Sutek as a dragon is interesting. It's obviously a dog. of some description, a jackal or something. It's crazy.
Jackal.
Yeah.
But the context of what he's getting to there about the setup of it and the delivery of the script, what do you think about that?
I'm just over it. It was just and he's not gonna get it in 55 minutes. It's not gonna get wrapped up. Yeah, it's something I won't go back to, and yeah, someone needs to pipe him down or knock him off a few kind of levels, because he's just driving it off the cliff. If this had come out when I was wee, I might have been excited about this just because I was wee and been quite scared about it, but I'm just over it. It's not Doctor Who anymore, and it's actually just it's quite sad.
What about the points he's making in the article about the audience and what he's saying there? Because he's obviously on the fence. He's given it 3 out of 5, and he's on the fence here. He's basically saying, well, look, you've alienated a few people, but actually I get it, and I quite liked this. So what about those points he's saying there?
I'm in the age bracket of what he's trying to bring back, and I'm slightly different because I actually know some stuff. But if I didn't know anything and I didn't like that kind of sci-fi, I wouldn't have bothered. Because you've got your American kind of Marvel stuff and whatnot. It's nothing new, and he's pushed people away. And the age group, I can talk for some people, like Jack in the chat as well. A pair of us are different in this equation, but it's not. You're not giving anything to this kind of the age bracket in the market you want. It's like how people in the LGBT community, you're making a mockery of that. You're making a mockery of our age group. Mental health for men is you're not. You're trying to be the savior of the cause, and you're doing nothing for it.
Thank you very much to Michael Webster for your chat here for £10. Really appreciate that, Michael. Thank you. He's saying to us, thank you to the Whotastic team. Really appreciate it, Michael. Thank you so much, and thank you for joining us here. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. That's it's free to subscribe, so please subscribe to us and come and join us for all our future chats. Yes, we only do have 1 week left. Some of you are saying that in the chat. We've got 1 week left to hear. Ducksuit Productions saying, I guarantee you that more people are interested in the Baker era monsters than space babies, but it's still not going to save the show. I mean, when I was reading that article, it did strike me that it could be something, not propaganda, because that's his job. He's a critic. He's writing this. But it could have been trying to support this episode, to say, actually, this episode was okay. Go and watch the next bit. But I don't think it's going to work.
No, I just don't understand why there's been this nasty sort of way that RTD has said about getting a certain audience. I don't understand why he doesn't want everyone to watch it.
Yeah.
It's a good question. And sorry, Ian?
Well, we said before, haven't we, that Doctor Who was always for everybody.
Yes.
It always was. It was one of the core things that the whole series forever was about. From 1963 through to 1989, it was always for everybody. And they seemed to achieve that again when they brought it back in 2005. But it's now just seems to be niche. It's just for a niche. And we aren't that niche. And they've made that very, very clear. We aren't that niche. And they've gone for a micro fraction of a micro percentage of this British population, not all of whom are interested in Doctor Who anyway. I mean, it's false to say that the entire TQIA +++ and all the rest, because it'd take half an hour to list them all, in this country would be Doctor Who fans or interested in watching Doctor Who. So it's going to be a percentage of that. But that's what they've chosen to go for. That's the mass they've chosen to pin their colours to. And it's dying on its arse.
Well, the ratings prove that, because, like it or not, Doctor Who was getting more in the Chibnall era than it has with this. And a lot of Who viewers have said, some of the Whotastic panel have said, apparently that was, at least it had a flavour of Doctor Who, whereas this one really doesn't, because it's recreating the whole thing. Philip Roy is joining us. Nice to see you, Phil. Do you dream about being an ambulance? Nah. Yeah, of course. Philip, of course, is joining us as he is busy doing his own version of our beloved Time Lord, Doctor Who Meets the Scorpion, which we've spoken about here on the channel before. And on Wednesday this week, we're doing a summer special where we're going to be speaking to one of the Daleks involved in Philip's film. Dalek Decimus is going to be joining us, so that's going to be fun. Watch out for that. It's on the channel now for you to have a look at. YW, let's have a look at some of the chats here as well. We're going to get to you around now. YW2324, I don't even know what age bracket he's been trying to bring back at this point. It's all very confusing. And Richard is saying to us here, Richard Brooks is saying it's not a sci-fi show anymore. Madman in a Box, nice to see you. Thanks for joining us again with that lovely avatar of the two legends there as well, Tom and Liz. They have wrecked Classic, and now they're stealing the bones from its corpse. Oh, that's good. Demorpin is saying to us here, if it weren't trying to be Sutek, I'd love that CGI monstrosity so much. Okay. Divine Dragon is saying to us here, to be serious, as a fan in my 60s, I feel so disrespected and ignored by RTD. I'd have some sharp words for him if I ever met him in person. And Graham is saying, Kirsty, very interesting viewpoint from a younger age, Kirsty. Richard is saying, it will have to be a big reset next week. And we've seen that 10 times before. It's going to be one of these things, guys. It's going to be so quick. It's just going to be boom, 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 quick. And or we'll turn back time.
Yeah, that's the time window. That's going to kick in then. So
that's exactly what I thought. And even my sister said something about that yesterday. I wasn't really listening to her, but bless her. She said something along the lines of, oh, that'll be used next week. And I just thought it was later on when I thought, oh, I heard her say that. Mark Milford, our resident poet laureate here at Who's Views, thank you so much for giving us $10. Really, really appreciate that. And Mark's saying to us, RTD stealing from Ghostbusters with a terror dog, possessed woman. Sutek is Goza. The Giggle had a rooftop battle. A baby is pivotal in GB2 and Who, Ghostbusters 2 and Doctor Who. Both an element making the people angry. It's a good point, but you know what? I've been starting to see other shows and plot points and films in this series of Doctor Who, and it's something worth us talking about very soon. So stay with us. See if you can spot them as well, because it's uncanny and indeed unnatural. But yes, they are there. Thank you, Mark.
He already did that with his previous stuff on Doctor Who, didn't he? If you look at the Master and things like that, you know, like the sort of connection to movies and things like that he did in season 3. And, you know, so he's done it all the time, hasn't he, in his Doctor Who stuff?
Yeah. 1 week to go, says Richard Brooks. Yeah, I've heard there's a time jump at the start of the episode, says Stephen Braddock. Sutek has already won and the Earth is dead, and that's worrying. That would make sense. That would be an RTD thing to do, because he's done it before. He did it with Martha, didn't he? 1 year later. And we have seen some pictures. I don't know if I've loaded them. Let me just have a quick check. We have seen some pictures from the Empire of Death. No, I haven't, because we're concentrating on this one, obviously, where Ruby looks different. She does look, she looks like she's in battle. Not battle. She's in the vest. Have you seen them? She's in the vest and stuff like this.
Or something like that.
And he looks like a gym teacher, doesn't he?
And there looks like a lot of dust around in the office that the picture is taken in. I think you have
got the battle mode jewelry on as well.
Oh, probably.
I've got mine.
I think, Stephen, you've hit the nail on the head there. I think we're gonna see a year later, and something's happened to the TARDIS, and something's done this, and let's remember that, please, Whotastic panel, when we come back to that with Stephen next week to see if he was right. Okay. Yep. Okay. Melanie Weston Investigates is saying to us here, misfiring with what RTD talk about backfiring. And Paul Holgate is saying to us, we know from past experience, he always does a reset.
Yeah.
And Christopher Benassi is saying to us, it's a shame to hear fans sound so down about their favorite show. As a Star Trek guy, I experienced this a number of years ago. It's because it's all around, this is how the show business industry is right now. And there's other priorities, from writing good science fiction, as Demorpin is saying to us here. It's all about inclusivity and representation, isn't it? That's what it's all about. Noodle Arms is saying to us here, an anglerfish in the dark and we are supposed to bite. And Dr. Hoomst 64 is saying to us, wasn't the original purpose of the show to teach children about history? It was intended as a children's tea time program.
Yeah.
It's about indoctrination now.
And it's about misguiding them. But CBBC, the Children's BBC, does this an awful lot. Horrible History started to do this. We've had other shows that have come in which haven't been representing the past correctly. They've been judging it from the current modern day. And that's wrong, because you can't just shoehorn these things into history. We have to learn from history, not rewrite history. Surely, as Doctor Who fans as well, that's one thing that we've actually learned from the Doctor. You know, you can't change history, so don't bother.
Yeah.
PB is saying to us here, we love Doctor Who because he was an outsider. Now he's a conformist.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so sad, isn't it, from this? What else we got here for us, everybody? Thank you very much. As I say, for Joe, we got so many comments coming through. We really, really appreciate it. So keep going with them. Keep going. I'll try and get that for you. Paul is with us. Paul Rose is here. Sutek had me curious, but I still can't bring myself to watch it. It's gone from a character with gravitas to a clown. I find the over-the-top camp DEI performance insulting at best. I don't think I'd go and see. None of this series I've got any intention of watching again. Let's put it that way. What about you lot?
Well, I have a confession to make. I watched it twice, so I'll apologise to Bedweir now for spiking the figures. But
Bedweir's probably
you.
That was me. Yeah, so.
You kept it over 2 million.
That was me. Yeah.
Brilliant. Keep it all coming. Keep it all coming. Okay, what we got now? Okay, so thanks for all your chats. Keep it all coming for us. We're going to move on to this particular part of the show now. Start chats. Who viewers in the chat, start putting into the comments, please, your marks out of 10 for scores on the TARDIS doors. Okay, then yes, this is good. Douglas Smith is saying, are you all going to the cinema soon?
I'll be there.
I'm not. I don't think the others. No, we're all shaking our heads. No, we're not going on that one as well. Hartnell's Ghost is also saying to us here, look, it's worse on rewatch with subtitles, just awful. Oh, I can't imagine that. Oh, God. Paul is saying, I've watched it twice too, Paul.
Maybe it's a Paul thing.
It's a Paul thing, yeah, exactly.
Paul thing, yeah, maybe. Yes. Problem being is also saying to us, at least 1 million were hate watches.
Of course.
The BBC have admitted in other things that they use bot accounts as well. It wouldn't surprise me. It really wouldn't surprise me, and Disney, if they do various things to inflate figures as well. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
Well, as I say, we are going to be looking at the ratings in our headline show with Bedweir. He'll be back with us with an analysis where we're going to be looking at the rogue consolidators as well. So that's exciting for us. We are Doctor Who fans. You know, we love all this stuff, don't we? We really do.
Yeah.
We love all this. James Famuk, nice to see you, and thank you for £10. What will you guys do after the season ends? Oh, we've got plans. We have plans. Come and join us in 2 weeks. I'll tell you now. In 2 weeks' time, we're going to be doing our season review. That's all I'm saying about that now. Come and join us for our season review. And then we're going back to all sorts of things. We're going to be returning to the big man himself, Pertwee. We're going to be looking at a Pertwee adventure very soon as well. We've also got lots of other things coming for you, including another in our Carry On shows. So thank you for that, James Famuk. And we're also going to be starting a new series where we are going to be looking at the Peter Cushing Hammer horror stories.
Ooh.
Thank you. So we've got lots coming for you, as well as headlines to keep us going, because we just know that even though the series is ending, they're going to be opening the big gobs every 20 minutes, and it's going to keep us busy. So stay with us all here on the channel, because we're going to have lots and lots of fun. Oh, and don't forget as well, one of our Christmas specials is we are going to be reviewing the Wallace and Gromit Christmas special this year. That's going to be fun, I hope. I hope we don't make that a mess. All right, so let's get into the scores on the TARDIS doors now. I'm going to start with Jodie. What are you going to give this out of 10, please?
You're going to hate me for this, but I'm going to be honest, I'd been out. I'd been eating at our local hostelry with some lovely wine. And so I was mellow when I was watching this. So I'm going to give it an 8.
An 8 out of 10 from Jodie. Thank you so
Are you
much.
sure you were just mellow, Jodie? That sounded like you had
I
far too many of them.
think I might have been slightly more than that, but
8 out of 10 from Jodie. Thank you very much. Kirsty, lady of the chat, what are you going to give this The Legend of the Ruby Slippers?
5 for some of the action shots and for my girl Millie Gibson. That's it.
Lovely. Okay, thank you. We'll go up to Paul. I was a different doctor back then. What's your score on the TARDIS door?
Well, like I said, I watched it twice, and the first time I watched it, I absolutely hated it. Then I watched it again, and it was actually okay. So I'm going to give it a 4.
A 4 out of 10. All right. And Ian, what are you going to give this?
2 for me. Gabriel Wolf. It was the best episode of the season, so I can't knock it too much. But I can't praise it too much either, because it was steeped in this Russell T Davies dross and dredging up stuff that it should leave untouched, because it's way, way, way better than any of this. So 2.
A 2 from Ian. Okay, for myself, I'm going to add on here as well. This was the best for me out of this entire run. I think it was also the strongest. And I just wish I had said earlier in the show that this had been episode 1, and he would write things like he writes a finale every week, because it might stand a little bit of a chance of everybody liking it and coming into it and gripping the nation and gripping more of the fan base. So, all right, I like this for Bonnie. I'm going to give it a 6, which is bloody generous for me. I'm going to give it a 6. Okay. Let's have a look and see what you're saying in the chat. There is lots coming in here, and then we'll look at the scoreboard to see where that puts The Legend of the Ruby Slippers Sunday. XSM is giving this a 3 out of 10. I think it's done quite well from us actually on that one. I think we've been very generous there. Divining Dragon has given it 4 out of 10. No way, says Graham, that I'll ever be looking at these ever again or purchasing. I'm the same. No, this is it. Done. So it's had a generous 6 from me. Paul is giving it 8. There we go. Steve Hindley is giving it a -61. Oh dear. And 4. John is giving it 5 out of 10. Robbie Payne is giving it 5 out of 10. Hello and welcome to Who's Views to Marine Boy. It's nice to see you. Is anyone going to buy the merchandise? I very much doubt it. Small amounts, I think. 21st Boy Jason, thank you. 5 out of 10. Richard is saying 5 out of 10. Gosh, these are actually, considering what we've had, guys, over the last few weeks, these are actually okay. These are good. Terry Tees is saying 3.4. Astronomical One is giving it a 5. And Alpha Storm is giving it a -1975. I see what you did there. Steve Black is telling us here, Novice Hain will turn up and Sutek will chase her out of the universe. Oh, God, that's funny. And Rob McCord is giving it 3. Kev, 4. 0 from Domgo. Okay. Garbage is saying he's given it 0, but he hasn't watched it. That's terrible. Stop that, you naughty little boy. And Graham is also giving it a 0. I was generally more bored by this one than I expected. Okay, yeah, fair enough. Aronite 1 is saying 6 out of 10. And Hartnell's Ghost 1 out of 10 for the possibility of Carol Ann Ford returning. Richard is saying to us here, only Russell Tough Davis can resurrect a villain in a finale after destroying a classic villain in his first outing. Now that's an arc. That's a good point. Thank you very much for that. What we got here? Any more? Stephen Braddock has given it 5. Question mark out of 10. Is that supposed to be a 1, mate? For problem being, that's 1 for the great Gabrielle Wolf. There you go. Hello to Black Gov Studio, who's joining us as well. Nice to see you. And Melanie Weston Investigates is getting in here with a 6. Paul Richard is saying 1 out of 10, 1 for Bonnie. Bonnie, yay! And she's in the next one as well. And Sir Artichoke Darlington Bamford III said 3 rounds rapid. I love that. Sir Artichoke. Lovely. Lex, thanks for joining us. He's giving this a 2 out of 10. And the reason why is just for the 4 fantastic standout performances from Lenny Rush, Millie Gibson, Bonnie Langford, and Susan Twist. This is Lenny Rush, I felt, is what the Doctor should be. I think I've read that wrong, but no, thank you. There we go. What else? hello and welcome to Grey Morn. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. As a previous Who and Trek fan, I'm dreading the remake of Babylon 5. Don't get me started on that one. We'll move on. Steam. Double O Inside. Season so far, 4 out of 10. Episode 7, though, is 8 out of 10. Okay. 8 out of 10. That's what we've given it there mainly. What else? Any more? Minus 1,000, says Paul Holgate. And Doctor Whomst 64. I can't particularly judge the episode until the second part. I can't wait. And if the episode sticks the landing, it'd be one of my favorite series of the show.
Cool.
There you go. Good. I'm pleased. At least it's got somebody there as well.
Yeah.
So that's nice to hear. So thank you for that. That's really great. I hope it doesn't let you down next week. John Cartwright is saying to us 1 out of 10. RTD, you are not Tolkien. Doug Smith is saying to us, I didn't watch. Very honest, thank you. Rose is also saying to us here, there is only 5 days for cinema iPlayer, 6 days for BBC One. Come back tomorrow when we speak to Bedouir about our ratings. Don't forget, everybody. And Lisa Rance is with us saying, didn't watch it. Watch Survival instead. So 8 out of 10 for Survival. Oh, you're going to love it when we get round to that one, aren't you? I can't wait to hear what you think about that. 4 out of 10 from David Gulvin. Black Glove is saying to us here, I can't tell you my rage that the rematch with Sutek is with Shooty. Everything worthy ends after Capaldi. Now, Capaldi would have understood Sutek. He would have played that big time, wouldn't he? Oh, gosh. 7 out of 10 from Aaron. Thank you, Aaron. And David Parr is joining us and saying, I actually liked it. I think our scores are reflecting that actually most of us sort of went, yeah, this was the best one. Because the scores are, believe me, David, welcome to Who's Views, but believe me, these are the highest possibly I think we've had for an episode of this entire run so far. We will look at that in just a second. Stephen Braddock is saying to us, what's the next Carry On planned? And don't forget one of our dinosaurs is missing. We haven't forgot one of our dinosaurs is missing. We'll let you know soon what Carry On we're going to be doing as well. We'll get all this sort of out of the way and then we'll go that. The lady Elizabeth Knightsbridge is with us and she's saying 2 out of 10. 2, which by coincidence is the same number of white dudes in the episode. Oh, Lady Knightsbridge, what are you like?
She's won the comments today.
The Box of Delights is the only Christmas watch, says Graham. I have to. That's one of my every year favourites, Graham. I can't believe we can't talk about Christmas. Rose is saying to us, I just hope it's a really great finale. Only one episode for this season for me. Still don't know if I'm going to buy the Blu-ray or the DVD. There's no rush. Wait until they come down. Wait until they come down in price. Don't go and get the huge price that they are now, 40, 50 quid. Yeah. Wait a year. You will really get them for tuppence next year, I can guarantee you. 7 out of 10, says the doctor himself, Philip Roy. 7 out of 10, but only because it stood out a lot better from the episodes that preceded it. Frank is also giving it 7.5, and David is agreeing with myself and giving it 8 out of 10. Thank you, David. Welcome to Who's Views. Mike Disney is with us. Mike, how are you? Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires is well worth a watch.
Yeah.
I would imagine that's the Hammer Horror. Yeah, we'll probably get around to that as well. And Daryl, our artist resident here at Who's Views, 3 out of 10. It's something of a setup, but very doubtful of a conclusion being satisfying. As we say, that's RTD's thing, isn't it? That really, really is. Welcome as well to Rocky O. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining in. Paul Richards is giving 1 out of 10. Steve Black, from the rest of it, it was an improvement. He's giving it 7. And Cybermat Strikes is joining us with an 8. These are good marks, guys. I hope you're all adding these up. Raymond is saying to us 4 out of 10. It's good for this season, but it's still below average when comparing it to earlier New Who. Crimpline de Bloom is with us now. Hi, Crimpline de Bloom. 2 out of 10. A few good moments and a lot of talk. Is that also that show? Let's have a look. Any more, everybody? Keep it coming in. Yeah. Keep it coming in. There is. Okay, let's carry on down there then. Oh, yes. Peter Davis, hello, thank you. Nice to see you, mate. 5 out of 10. And Garbage is saying to us here, if you're in trouble, please blink twice or give us a sign if you're in danger. Okay. YW2324 is saying, I haven't watched it yet. It's not. This is probably actually, guys, the one I would actually say, if somebody says, oh, which of Shooty Gatwa's first season would recommend? I'd actually say, go and watch this one. And we'll see what happens with the next one. But I would say this is the one you go and start with and ignore the rest. But it's
not because of Shooty, is it?
No. Yeah.
No, it's because it's actually again, it's like Boom. Remember, I was saying Boom in a Moffat series of 13. That would be the one we'd go, that was all right. That was all right. But we knew something better was coming the week after or whatever.
Yeah.
This is another one of those. This was just a sort of standard RTD one, really. And that's why I think it should have been number one. They should have all carried on. Oh, give over. What am I talking about? Double O Insider saying season so far 4 out of 10. Episode 7 though is an 8 out of 10. Thank you very much. And Julia is here with us as well. Julia is saying to us 4. Okay. Paul, not watched. I had dust to rearrange. So did Sutek, strangely. Z3PO is with us saying 6. Thank you for all these. Keep it coming, everybody. But I'm going to have to call it soon because I need a cup of tea. And Glenn is with us. Glenn, it's nice to see you. Welcome back to Who's Views. Can't argue. Absolutely amazing cliffhanger. It was scary. Well, I'm glad it scared you. Because that's what Doctor Who should be doing, and it hasn't done that enough for me this year. It's run away from things. So thank you, Glenn. I'm glad you found it scary. 3 out of 10, and 2 of that is for Bonnie, says Matthew Butterfield. Thank you, Matthew. Okay, Mark is saying to us, Mark Milford is saying 2 for content, 10 for making us remember what proper Doctor Who was like and wanting us to rewatch Pyramids of Mars.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm so excited now. I mean, I wish we could get those ratings for the iPlayer views because Pyramids of Mars is going to go into millions and millions and millions now, isn't it? Because it did really well in its original run. Then the repeats it got. Now it's going to go stratosphere, but we're never going to get them, are we? Glenn is also saying to us here, he's going to give it 10, a 10 out of 10. Fantastic. Well done. And Rose is saying...
Sorry, JT. I'd be interested to know if Glenn's... I mean, totally respect his score for this. That's absolutely fine. No problem at all.
That's great.
And I'm glad he enjoyed it. But I'd be interested to know if you've seen Pyramids of Mars itself. And if not, go watch it and tell us what does he think about, say, the poor old poacher being chased down by lumbering mummies and caught and everything else, if indeed that scene hasn't been cut, or what he thinks of the mummies in general. Does he find that scary? Because, I mean, that was legendary.
Yeah.
I'd genuinely be interested.
Yeah. Well, Glenn, Rose is saying to us 8 out of 10. Thank you, Rose. Lovely to see you. Glenn's actually saying I had goosebumps watching the cliffhanger. And then he said it was really great. Good. Good. Yeah. Let's have a look. Keep going. Any more? Kirsty, any more in there? Mr. Mark. We've got Mr. Mark here. 0 out of 100. Dot and Bubble was my favorite for the end and acting of the guest stars. Thank you very much, Mr. Marks. You're giving that one a 0. And JG is welcome is here. Thank you very much. I wanted to see the hand, the one that held down the cushion when Sutek stood up in the Pyramids of Mars.
There's still time. There's still time for that to make a difference. Yeah.
JT, go from David McComb onwards. You've got a few more.
Will do. Okay. We're going to start winding up, guys. Put it all in. Glenn is saying to us, I think it was very loyal to the Sutek character, wasn't it? So, I would say that he has watched Pyramids of Mars. Sutek wasn't really in it for me. I'd be more interested in what goes on next week, Glenn, when it comes to Sutek. I think that's where we're going to look a bit more about the character of Sutek, and we'll be back next week to talk all about that. David McCormick, I think I've nailed who Ruby and her mother is. May not exactly be something around the lines of ... I love that. Keep it going. He's saying it all in the chat there. I won't put it on the thing. Thank you very much. He's also giving it a 9. Please do carry on screaming, says Frank. Well, that's going to have to be October, isn't it, for obvious reasons? Yeah. So join us then. Just Jordan is saying, Dad says 7 out of 10, and I would say 8 out of 10. Well, thank you to your dad for saying that as well, because he's been like myself, really. He hasn't really enjoyed any of this, and he was there with Pyramids of Mars, of course, at the beginning. So I'm glad you enjoyed that. Just Jordan's dad. So 7 out of 10 from you. Wonderful. David Parr has given us 8 out of 10. Thank you so much. What else? Okay. Jack, yes, I'll mail you. And James from 7.5 out of 10. Not perfect, but all right, actually. Yeah, I think that sums it up nicely, doesn't it? That's it there. It was all right. Do you agree with that, guys?
Yeah, it's all right.
An improvement.
Yeah, all right, yeah. Okay, let's have a look there. Thank you for all that. And Komodo is here with us as well. 3 out of 10 for way too much emotive filler that was unemotional.
Yeah.
That's a good point, actually. It's getting a bit out of hand, all that now, isn't it? And Glenn is actually saying to us, yes, I've seen Pyramids of Mars, Ian, a brilliant story, and it's made me want to watch it all over again. Hooray!
Cheers, Glenn.
Dr. Whom64 is saying, yeah, adding to Glenn, I've seen Pyramids of Mars, and that reveal at the end of the episode was phenomenal. But it was supposed to be, though. It was written to be big and phenomenal, and that's what I think. That ending was the bit that got fandom all going, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, because it's what comes next, isn't it? Really.
Do you know what? Do you know what I would have liked, looking back on it? I think is the TARDIS obviously gets gradually taken over, and then no CGI. The TARDIS doors just slam open, and the Sutek, actual proper physical Sutek, stood in the doorway. I think that would have probably been quite cool, rather than all the CG cloudy, this is a donkey with teeth kind of thing.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll get that next week. Who knows? I mean, they must be using, they've got to have Sutek in it more next week. Derek is giving it an 8 out of 10. I'm calling it on that. But back to Glenn very, very quickly. Makes me want to watch Pyramids of Mars more. Looking forward to all your thoughts on the finale. And looking forward to listening to you all reviewing classic Doctor Who stories soon. Yeah, we're going back to that in as we gear up towards the next one, which will be Christmas, everybody, of course, as well. Thank you so much. No, Komodo. It wasn't Roland Rat.
Now he's mentioned it, actually.
Yes, you can see it now, can't you? We can see it now. That's brilliant, Komodo. Thank you. Catherine Reed, welcome to Who's Views. I've been rewatching through my DVDs, recently made it to the Tom Baker era. Oh, good. So you'll be set up for our Pertwee review when we come back to Who's Views reviews in a few weeks. Stay tuned with us because you'll be ready for that one. That's going to be great to have you on board with that. It'll be different for us all, won't it, as we go to that. Thank you for your scores on the TARDIS doors. I'm calling it on that one. Just to let you know, the scores from the Whotastic panel so far looks like this. Space Babies, 3.5. The Devil's Board, 4.5. Boom, 21. 73 Yards, 29. Dot and Bubble, 19. And Rogue, 6. If my mathematics is correct, we've just given The Legend of Ruby Sunday 25. So 73 yards is still beating it. Okay, so 25. Now, these are marks out of 50. There are 5 of us on the panel. We get 10 points each out of 50. That's where we're going here. So still in the lead at the moment is 73 yards. Will the next episode get more than that? Oh, I don't know. But what is happening next time here on Who's Views Reviews? Season finale of RTD2 Disney Who 1 2024 is on the way. Empire of Death. We will be reviewing the Empire of Death next Sunday live here on Who's Views, the 23rd of June at 8 o'clock United Kingdom time. Come and join us. I'm sure we're going to have a lot to say on that one as well. To the Whotastic panel, to Paul, to Ian, to Kirsty, and to Jodie. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Thank you so much, as ever, for joining me this evening.
You're very welcome.
And I have to say a huge thank you to everybody that's joined us in the chat. What a thrill to have so many of you with us this evening. And a huge thank you as well to everybody that gave us some money for that. Which I'm being totally British about that. Can't quite believe that. So thank you so much for that. It means so much to us. We're gonna carry on with all this and see where we go. And so, guys, I can't quite believe it. Can you? It's just amazing.
It's fantastic.
It's lovely. Yeah, thank you.
We really appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. It's just amazing. It's just wonderful to see. At the moment, yes. I wonder what the third Doctor would think about it all. And of course, that is a plug for the fact that as we've got all this out of the way, we are returning to Who's Views reviews of the classic era, the proper era of Doctor Who. For now, that's us for this evening. Thank you so much, everybody, for being with us again. We will be back very soon. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Make sure you've rung the bell. If you have subscribed, make sure that you are still subscribed, because I'm still getting emails from some of you saying I've been unsubscribed. I'm not sure why. It's nothing to do with us. Make sure that you're subscribed. We will be back very soon, not just with our show next Sunday, but through the week. We have a summer special for you on Wednesday with Dalek Decimus, our very special guest, who's going to be talking about the Daleks Invasion UK 2024. And we've got our headlines coming for you as well. You're not going to miss any of that because you're going to be with us. We will see you very soon. So from myself and the Whotastic panel, take care of yourselves and say goodnight, Whotastic panel.
Good night.
Night.
Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.